for it. Okay, Jake, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate you coming on. I want to give you the floor. I want you to explain to us. Actually, should we talk about Jan 6 first, or do you want to speak about what happened in Michigan first?
We could start chronologically, kind of. I think it's kind of important to kind of build the character around who I am and what I stand
I
for.
agree.
January 6th is a huge part of my life. And first of all, I just want to thank God Almighty, Jesus Christ, for bringing me home to my family for this Thanksgiving celebration. This time last year, exactly this time last year, I was in the D.C. jail. And I was only with one Jan 6er at that point that segregated us out. And I came back into D.C. jail for the third time. So I had one J6 guy with me in a pod full of a bunch of other people, mostly African Americans and some Spanish guys, as well as some Muslim guys in there as well. And I had to, as we did every single holiday, we had to kind of make like our own makeshift meal to like celebrate. So we bought a bunch of stuff off commissary, and we were using the microwave to cook up different types of meals and stuff. And of course, we invited the Muslims to eat and other people that weren't able to afford food themselves for the celebration. But it's just such a drastic and radical difference from where I was at last year. Just thinking about my last Thanksgiving meal, how we had to, kind of band together in this adversity, and just it was incredible. So now being home with my family, I'm in a much better place, and I'm really grateful. So I just want to share that gratitude. If everybody in the audience is listening, you don't know how good you've got it until it's all gone. So just praise God every day, because his blessings are in an instant. He could pull away his grace just an ounce, and you could end up in solitary confinement for years like me, or on a hospital bed, or without a job, without a home. It's all just dependent on every last breath of his grace. So just give glory to God in this beautiful holiday season. So I have to start there, because I've been doing a lot of downtime since Dearborn, thinking about how lucky and blessed I am to be home and to be alive.
Well, in terms of Jan 6, I would say a lot of my audience is probably on your side in that regard, because many of them spoke out against the fact that a lot of people from Jan 6 were incarcerated without a trial, without a fair trial, and many people spoke up about it, as did I. So, but let's talk about that first, because I want to give you a fair shot. This isn't just going to be a full-on attack, right? We're going to disagree, as I told you on the phone. There'll be things where we probably agree on as well. So let's start at the beginning. You went to the Capitol. What did you do in the Capitol on Jan 6? Actually, let's start before that. What was the reason for you to go to the Capitol?
So January 6th, obviously they stole the election. Everybody knows it. They disenfranchised millions of Americans by putting this shill in there. President Joe Biden is currently, as we speak right now, he's being erased from history. All of the auto pen president, completely senile, weak, feckless leadership of Joe Biden's being disappeared. But we were very fearful that the continuous lockdown scenario that we saw in New York City, that we saw in all the blue states and all the blue major cities, they just had this draconian deep state lockdown on us. And I was living in New York City at the time. I'm from New York, and I had lived under real life, police state rules. 8 p.m. curfews, subway shut down, Lyft and Uber shut down, City Bike, the bike you can rent, everything was like a technological shutdown. So I was very fearful, as any, logical American would be, that Joe Biden represented the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party used basically every ounce of governmental power, even overstepping their rights, and they shut down everything. And they turned our lives into literally like a 1984 dystopian George Orwell book. So I went there because they stole the election and COVID lockdowns were egregious. And I was there to protest the stolen election, to stand with President Trump, and to stand up against what was basically a Marxist coup d'etat. They installed puppet Joe Biden, Beijing Biden, we call him. They installed him into the presidency, and that didn't sit well with me and a million other patriots that showed up that day. So we stood up and did what Americans are called by God to do. It's our duty to defend our country against tyranny.
So I haven't had a chance to look at your specific case. I did speak to a few Jan 6s, and there were many people who got incarcerated and they did nothing, right? Some said that you were actually one of the more aggressive people on that day. What was it that you were basically charged for?
So I was charged. I was never found guilty of any crime. 4 years and 6 days in prison. I never had a trial. But that doesn't mean what I did was not something that, on facial value, you look at it and you go, that's pretty serious. But at the end of the day, we have a right to defend our country versus tyranny. And they were murdering unarmed Americans that were protesting there that day. 4 Americans lost their life. They were not armed. They were killed by the Capitol Police. Ashley Babbitt, as we all know, God rest her soul, was shot point blank range by Officer Lieutenant Byrd, who's still out there running around with his freedom as they weaponize the entire DOJ against me and my brothers. There's murderers, governmental murderers running around right now. And then you had another woman, Roseanne Boylan. God rest her soul. Roseanne Boylan was a 38-year-old woman from Georgia, and she came to the Capitol. She was like kind of like amorphous politically. She didn't really fit into any type of mode. She was kind of like an internet, e-girl type of thing, but she really loved our country, and she was there, and she got trampled by the Capitol Police maneuver to throw an entire, like, 3 dozen or 4 dozen patriots down a flight of stairs. They pushed us backwards down a flight of stairs. She got caught in that stampede. She was trampled. She was covered with chemical weapons and spray, CS gas, pepper spray, tear gas, and she basically succumbed from a combination of those things, plus Officer Lila Morris, Metropolitan Police Officer. This woman beat Roseanne Boylan with a stick while she was on the ground unconscious, which undoubtedly added to this kind of conglomeration of her, injuries that ultimately led to her death at the hands of the Capitol Police. I was right there. I had my hands on Roseanne Boylan trying to pull her lifeless body from the bottom of this dog pile. When that did not work, I was able to grab the black protester, one of my best friends, Philip Anderson, who does some of my protests with me. He's the guy that we did the demonstration with the George Floyd and Derek Chauvin outside Derek Chauvin's prison that went super viral. The man laying down on the ground when we demonstrated that he didn't die from a police chokehold. It was an overdose. But anyway, I'd say Philip Anderson in that moment. By God's grace alone, I was just in the right place at right time. And after those things transpired is when
Philip Anderson, just on that, Philip Anderson, he's African-American, right?
Yes.
Okay,
He's a great
yeah.
patriot.
Yeah.
One of my best friends. I love him. And
really, you're both very different because he's been on my spaces. He has different positions to you.
He does have some different positions, but what Ronald Reagan said, a person who disagrees with you on 20% of things is not 20% your enemy, but 80% your friend. True. And me and Philip are, 95% friends. And just a few things, especially to do with Trump. I'm a Trump loyalist through and through. He's not so much, but that's his right. I got my life.
And he's against the Zionist control of the United States of America as well.
I am also against the Zionist control and the communist control and the Qatari control of America. All three got to go. Those are the three biggest wars right now in America. Get rid of Israel influence, get rid of Chinese influence, get rid of Qatar's influence, and we might be able to save America. But let me digress here because in that moment when Roseanne Boylan was murdered, I had to pick up defensive weapons as a group of me and the other patriots made like a defensive wall between the police that were like in this baton death march, killing people, crushing people, and the unarmed protesters. So I racked up a bunch of assault charges there, which were just offensive charges. Nobody got injured. They tried to put me away for legitimately, if I was found guilty, I was facing over 200 years in prison with all the charges.
What did you do?
But legitimately, I was going to do 30 years in prison is what I was told by my prosecutors when all said and done. If you don't take this plea deal, Jake, you are going to do 30 years in prison. And the plea deals went from, small amount of time. And then when I kept on, denying them, they kept on, saying, we're going to charge you more. And the next plea deal is going to be 9 years. The next plea deal is going to be 15 years. And I said, I will never plea out against this deep state weaponized government because it is my honor I have to wear the rest of my life, not, some type of lack of integrity.
I think you did the right thing not to plea out. But the question is, you mentioned that your actions were done defensively. What were those actions?
I had a baseball bat and a riot shield. I didn't have them. Somebody handed me those things. I found those things. I came to the protest in business attire, similar to this, which I'm wearing right now, except I had a leather jacket on. I had business slacks on, business collared shirt on. I was coming from a board meeting for one of my companies in New York City, and I just happened to find myself in the middle of this like barbarian brawl with these very, very violent Capitol Police officers that were trying to murder unarmed Americans. And, I was 25 years old at the time. I was a college wrestler, was raised by my dad, never to run away from people who need your help. And I just went into the middle of that mix and tried to save a few lives. I did end up saving 2 men's lives, both Philip Anderson and Tommy Tatum. Credit me with saving their lives. So I was there for, a purpose that day. There would be men that, are walking around right now, my brothers that wouldn't be alive right now if I wasn't there. And there were many, many brave actions by many J6 patriots.
Did you hit some people with a baseball bat?
I defended myself with a baseball bat. Yes, against
how many people did you hit defending yourself?
I ended up with 8 assault charges and
8 different people.
Yes, 8 different officers throughout the day. Not all with the baseball bat. There was 3 assault with deadly weapon with baseball bat, 2 with a riot shield, and then some other scuffs that we had when we were basically wrestling over bodies, trying to pick up and to save these people and bring them to the volunteer medics like Philip Anderson, who was resuscitated, and the police were pepper spraying us, punching at people, trying to grab people and drag them in to arrest them. So it was like this whole entire, medieval warfare that they started. They were the aggressors. They shot us with rubber bullets, tear gas. They were literally flying these rubber pepper ball bullets that are going so fast that they ripped through people's faces before the crowd, even like you see any of those major surges where we took ground. Those major surges came because Capitol police officers were ripping through people's faces from an elevated position with pepper ball bullets, and there was literally blood and gore all over. And you
So,
you have to
so was
react
this
at that
happening
point.
inside the Capitol building?
This happened on the outer west terrace of the Capitol building, this specific place, and a lot of it in the inaugural tunnel where the president comes out to do the inauguration. Except for Joe Biden, never did the inauguration. He was hidden. He never even had an official public inauguration.
Okay. And then after that, you were incarcerated for 4 years without a trial. And you mentioned you were in solitary confinement was it the entirety of the time or something? What was the reason for why you were put in solitary?
So I did 4 years and 6 days in prison. 900 of those days, 900 out of 1,467, over 900 were in solitary confinement. Yes, it was very crazy. The first whole year was for COVID. That's how crazy. We were in the D.C. jail, Washington, D.C., one of the most strictest COVID restriction lockdown states in the country, or territories, as we call them. But they had such a draconian, lockdown on us. It was crazy. 23 hours. Sometimes when I first got to D.C. jail, I had 45 minutes out of my cell 5 days a week to shower, use a phone call, that's it, and get back in the cell. And that happened. That lasted for like a month. Then they went to 23 hours in, 1 hour out. That lasted for like another 3-4 months. Then they went to 22 hours in, 2 hours out. That lasted. So eventually they worked us, down to when we were out of our cells 5 hours a day, which is the legal minimum requirement under like all the, the UN, Geneva Convention and stuff. So after the first year, then they got us to 5 hours a day out of our cell, which is still only like less than half the time you're supposed to be out. So all that time when we were in the first year was all solitary. We were all in the same unit in the DC jail, all the J6ers, but we were locked in our cells majority of the day over, like I said, 23 hours a day. And, that's where really God had moved on my heart in amazing ways. I had the Bible. I was able to sit, concentrate, read, fast, pray, sing songs of worship. It's just you and the Lord Jesus in that cell alone. What's that?
I said, what type of prayer were there? We're doing a bit of kosher prayer.
What?
I said, what types of prayers were there?
Every prayer is a kosher prayer. If you're speaking the name of Jesus Christ, you're praying my language. And that was a blessing, though, hidden in the most incredible turmoil that a human being. It's just you versus yourself for years. Push-ups, sit-ups, Bible reading, looking out through your tiny little window with the grated, metal that's rusting and cuts your fingers if you try to touch out of it. I mean, it was really like. Some type
you're
of
making it sound like you made it into a very positive thing, and I have to give you credit on that, because let's be clear on this. This is why I'm vehemently against two things. One is, which has happened to you, which is that you were there without a trial. I think that goes against the entire notion of Western civilization, and I believe in terms of religious values, because everyone should be allowed a fair trial, irrespective of who it is, because we need to find out if someone's innocent or guilty, right? That's why we have this concept of a trial. And the second thing is solitary confinement. Solitary confinement is one of the worst things, in my view, one of the most inhumane things you could do to a person. To remove him from society, to make sure that he doesn't contact anyone, it socially impacts you, it mentally impacts you, it physically impacts you, it psychologically impacts you. And I would say that, in terms of what happened to you there, that is horrific. And I find that to be bang out of order. And that's what I've been speaking out against for a very long time. So I know you've spoke about how you made it into a good situation, and I have to give you credit for that. But it wasn't, you have to, or you probably would have been mentally shot.
Crumble. It's either you rise up to the occasion, overcome the adversity, or you turn into a soup of a person. I mean, those walls can really encroach in on you and really turn your mind against you very quickly. And if you're not constantly looking to improve yourself, improve your relationship with God, fight the fight that is a very tough fight in there, which is getting the word out to the people, because we had to come up with all these ingenious ways. I ran podcasts from inside, because when you're able to use the phone, you're able to use the phone. And to the limits of what you can accomplish on the other end of a phone is the limits of what, is stopping you. And so I had an entire team of volunteers building websites, making documentaries, fundraising for us, setting up interviews for me. And, every week, maybe 2-3 times a week sometimes or more, I get an interview with OAN or Real America's Voice or Newsmax or Gateway Pundit, where I ran my podcast. And we were starting to get the real story of what really happened to us on January 6th out to the airwaves. And it really moved hearts and minds. It mobilized President Trump's voters for this like amazing crusade. I always say it this way: the same way the left has abortion that they're like super emotionally charged about, the right had J6 and freeing the political prisoners as like a top agenda piece to get out and mobilize voters and actually move people out of their homes into the voting booths in 2024. So it was it was this grand battle. Everybody that was out there and heard any of my interviews, or when I was on 12-day hunger strike, or when I got moved from prison to prison, because after that first year in DC jail, I got moved all around because I started gaining influence, and they tried to continually unmoor me from being able to have my brothers, my J6 brothers around me, or being able to use the phone, or have lawyer visits, or keep all my discovery in my case. So it was this giant battle against the system, you know, and God is my witness, and everybody who is watching this right now, prayers work. I'm living embodiment of the power of Jesus Christ, who literally delivered me from an impossible situation, spending pretty much the rest of my life in a prison cell. So I know faith beyond faith. I've seen it work. I've seen God move it and be able to sustain me in years in solitary, in prison after prison, in dangerous scenario, people trying to kill me with knives, you know, having to fight for my life in prison all over the country, in Oklahoma, in federal maximum security penitentiary, Pennsylvania, in Brooklyn, New York, which is the most dangerous prison in the world. If you ever find yourself in prison, you better hope you're not in Brooklyn, New York, because there's so many gangs. And this is one, and here's the segue, by the way, this is one of my gotcha points that I came prepared with here. Sulaiman,
go for it.
You know, you're not ready for this one. There's only one religion in prison that operates as a gang, and it is the gang culture prison. It is the gang culture in prison. Muslims. Muslims are more like a gang, literally a prison gang, because all other religions, when you meet a Buddhist in there, meet a Christian in there, meet a in there, anybody else, what they're doing is they're doing their time, and they're trying to stay away from what's called like the prison drama, you know, over fights over race, religion, this, that. So they're like what we call guys that are out of the way, right? But when you meet a Muslim in prison, that is a warrior that is looking to kill anybody who is not in his tribe, if his tribe is disrespected, that he sees in any way. So the religion of Islam, just from my personal experience in prison, is not the religion of peace. It is a brotherhood gang of people willing to kill anybody else that does not follow in with what they're doing. I believe that that's how it operates from the smallest level to the highest level. So we can get into the spicy part now.
Yeah, we will. But just on the prison thing, and then I do want to get into the Dearborn thing, and then also, like, you know, there's a lot of questions people have got. The chat's going crazy. Everything's going crazy. It's you've got.
I'm sure it's either 50% we love Jake, 50% he's a get him.
Yeah, there's a lot of he's. And basically, my audience is largely Christian, though, so they keep saying you don't represent Christianity. So we're gonna get into that, right? So now the question is, in terms of like the prisons, in the prisons, and by the way, in the prisons, is the obviously you have this kind of groups, right? Is the Muslim are the Muslims the only group in there, or are there other types?
So they operate on the gang level. So you have all race related gangs and neighborhood related gangs. So
like what?
You'll have gangs that are related to each other because they're from the same area, the same neighborhood, or gangs that are related to each other because they're the same race. The only one that's a gang that's literally a gang that's related to each other because they're the same religion is Islam. And you have Korean people hiding in the Islam. It's called a car. They're called cars in prison. The people you eat with, you work out with, and that you're willing to, at the end of the day, go to war with if somebody steals something, if somebody is disrespected, if something like that happens. The car that you're in is either based off your race or where you're from.
So what would the race?
There's one car that attracts all these different people. There's a lot of rats in there. There's a lot of people that are looking to get protection. And so they claim Islam, and then they get the protection of the Muslim Brotherhood. But they have to put in work. Putting in work is basically when you're a new member of a car or gang, they're going to send you to do the next dirty deed, the next evil deed. If it's stab somebody that they don't like, if it's rob somebody they don't like, if it's do anything like that, put something in your body to sneak it into the prison, you're going to be the next one. So Islam operates in prison. Like a straight up, like the Bloods, like the Aryan Brotherhoods, same thing.
Yeah, okay. Let me ask you some questions, Jay. So you mentioned there was other gangs, right? You mentioned the Aryan Brotherhood.
Yes.
What is that gang based on?
That gang is based on race, being white.
Okay, and
then the Aryan Brotherhood's also just the same as black and white have their own gangs, but then they subsect into where you're from. So you have like the Aryan Brotherhood from Texas, and then you have like the Bloods from New York compared to the Bloods from Chicago or something like that. The Bloods from New York and the Bloods from Chicago are not going to be in the same gang, even though they're underneath the same hood of like blood, same way as Aryan Brotherhood. So they're not going to fight.
Can I join the Aryan Brotherhood gang?
No, you cannot. No, you cannot. And guess what? And here's another good prison proof. I can, because I'm white. So all the people out there.
So even in prison, you were manipulating people.
No, I am white. I am. I mean, it just is what it is. People know my background and my heritage on my mom's side, being a Russian, which is a white European person, converted God knows how long ago, being Ashkenazi. But
we'll get into that. We'll get into the Ashkenazi bit. No, we'll get into that. Let's deal with the prison thing, because I think it's an important thing you relate. And the reason I asked that question is, you quite rightly said that I would not be able to join the Aryan gang. I also would not be able to join the black gang, right? Because I'm brown, right?
No, there's a lot of people that look like you in the black gangs. So the gang culture has changed a lot, and Bloods have Spanish in them. A lot of all the kids that are half breeds, half white, half black, half Spanish, half black. People that look like you two that just grew up in the Bronx or whatever, and they're banging blood. There's a lot of Arabs in the Bloods too. So
the reason I'm making that point.
There.
Yeah, the reason I'm making that point is, for example, you mentioned there's an Aryan gang. I wouldn't be allowed in that gang. Now, and obviously you said, depending on the situation, you may be allowed into another race gang, even though you may not be part of that race. But again, I'm guessing it'll be a lot more difficult.
Yeah, basically black, Spanish, and Arab in the Bloods run together, depending on that. But there is specifically only Spanish gangs, like the Three Woos, the Trinitarios. Those guys are vicious. In Brooklyn, there was the Trinitarios and then the Black Bloods, but sometimes it was Arabs in either one of them. It just depends on where they grew up. If you grew up in an area that was mainly with those people and you didn't have like the Muslim Brotherhood gang around you and you went to prison, you would be with the people from the Bronx, 181st Street gang or whatever. There's so many of them. But,
I understand. So the reason you have a Muslim gang, and by the way, for someone who's never committed a crime, like I don't like prison or anything like that. I'm like an academic. That being said, the reason you have that is because
you're soft. Just say you're soft. We all know.
I don't like violence. I don't like violence.
This baby tissue.
I don't like violence. I don't like violence. We're civilized people, you see. We're civilized people. Like your violence, don't you? That's the problem. Well, normally you'll get
Crusaders like our violence too, brother.
But anyway, coming back to it, the thing with the prison is, you're right. They have this gang culture, this gang mentality, and as you said, you have the Aryan gang, you have the Mexican gang, you have the black gang, and then you have a mixed gang, as you said. All of those gangs you mentioned, especially the aforementioned, are based on race, right? And then you have the Muslim gang. Now, the thing with the Muslim gang is people can become Muslim irrespective of what their race is, because just like Christianity, Islam is a global religion. And so what it is you have people, as you said, you have Koreans who go into the Muslim gang for protection, and so that gang becomes a lot more, in a way, accommodating, because you can get in there.
You're misrepresenting. You're misrepresenting this, because what I'm trying to say is it's really, really bad and really dangerous, Sulaiman. Basically, you have religious. So I'm going to give you 3 examples here.
Yeah.
You have people in prison that they're seeking God. They're looking to find religion, whether it be a Jewish person, a Hindu person, Christian person, and they're trying to stay out of prison culture. They're not gambling. They're not dealing drugs. They're not buying drugs. They're not getting into gang fights. They're not playing, the prison rules over whose phone time it is, and somebody's going to get stabbed because he skipped 2. Yeah. So you have every other religion in prison. The people that are seeking to follow that religion, they kind of find themselves on the outskirts. They're not, trying to be in the mix, right? But the Muslim gang is most certainly in the mix. They control the food carts, right? Which is where all the pipeline for all the drugs moving through the prison is. They operate like every other gang. They're looking for all kinds of violence, all kinds of drama. And that's a problem that I really see.
I agree with you though. This is the thing you got to understand. I know that this is an issue. There is a Muslim
people that are looking for God are going to the Christian car and they're studying the Bible with the guys, and they're learning how to share, they're learning how to pray, they're learning how to live like a normal person that should be out in society. People that join the Muslim car are looking to be in a gang and go to war.
No,
and they're looking they're looking for criminal behavior.
But listen, prison is violent. Prison is violent. As you know, you went there. Prison is aggressive. There are people who abuse people. There's a lot of rape that happens in prison. There's a lot of stabbings that happen in prison. There's a lot of violence that happens in prison. Weaker people will end up following the gang. Now, there may be people who don't have either a weak mind or are physically strong or whatever it may be, who might separate themselves from this gang culture. But generally speaking, in prison, people end up following gangs in order for protection and a wide range of things. So my point is this. Of course, there is a Muslim gang. I'm not denying that. Just like there is an Aryan gang, white gang.
There's no Christian gang. There's no gang. There's no Hindu gang. There's only one religion that's willing to subvert their own ideologies for protection and offer each other protection in prison.
But that's the point. So
the religion of peace is actually the biggest gang in any prison in America.
Okay, so let me make my point because you keep interrupting. So I agree that there is a Muslim gang, and the reason there's a Muslim gang is because the Aryan gang is a white gang, and whites are largely Christian, depending on the situation. And also you have
most of them are actually like Nordic. They're like they believe in Odin and Odinists and stuff like that.
Okay, so that's why they don't have a Christian gang. So, and then in terms of that, then you got the black gang, you got the brown gang. The point is, what I'm trying to say is, gang culture in prisons happens, and so when people become part of the Muslim gang, it's more accommodating because it's not based on your skin color, it's not based on race, it's based on a universalism, which in a way can be used for good, as per what I believe that Islam should be, or it can be used for bad because you can accommodate as many people as possible and then control the prisons. So, of course, Islam has and so does Christianity, but obviously they're not being able to foment control in prison systems. And the reason they're not being able to do it is because when you look at Christianity as a religious concept, it isn't a law-based system. Hence why if you were to create a structural gang or a structural society based on Christianity, it's a lot more harder to do. Would be, but obviously generally end up not going to prison as much because they commit white collar crime and a lot of times they get away with it. So there's a little bit more complexity in that issue in terms of why that doesn't happen. There's theological, philosophical reasons. But that being said, of course that happens, but I don't think that's a strong point because all you're proving is there's different types of gangs and gangs are violent, and then one gang is more dominant than the other gang, which I don't disagree with.
It is a strong point because the correlation does not stop in prison. And, you know, you have a largely Islamic audience here. And so there will be
most of my audience is Christian. But let me...
So then, then they have to... Then the chat, I'm sure I can't see the chat or whatever. What I'm trying to make the point is because...
they're all saying you're not a real Christian, but they're all Christians. They're like... But anyway.
Jesus Christ is Lord and God.
No, but we're going to speak about that. So what day did you get out of prison?
January 21st, 2025.
Okay. And so you do the Dearborn, Michigan thing. What's the reason why you decided to go into Dearborn, Michigan and do what you did?
So, you know, ever since I got out of prison, I felt that, you know, obviously my time and the influence that situation provided me to be able to have would, you know, to not just to throw it away, but to continue to build off of all this tribulation that God brought me through, to sculpt a character in me, to sculpt some type of boldness in my heart, to preach the word of God. And everybody who saw me, you know, one of the last times I went as viral as this was the day I got out of prison. I came out with my Bible. I've been leading Bible studies in my prison cell for all different race, color, creed of people. I had at many times 18-year-old black men in my cell learning the word of God with me, hanging off the top bunk and sitting on the toilet and, you know, clamoring on top of each other because I was somebody that was well put together in prison. I had, you know, a lot of goals. I was doing very well as far as, you know, my outside life. I had friends, family, you know, commissary coming in. I was sharing with people. So these young men, they never had a father figure in their life. And they see me on the phone all day long doing podcasts, working, you know, making something of myself, working out. And, you know, they want to know that peace that I have. They want to know who I am and, you know, what differentiates me from somebody who's going to sit down and play cards all day when I never would, you know, sit down and play games. I'd either be working, writing something out, on the phone, working out, something like that. So anyway, I had all these young kids come to me. I baptized over a dozen men, actually about 24 men in prison, about 18 men, dozen and a half. And all of them, some of them were MS-13 gang members. A lot of them were J6ers. A lot of them were young black men. And I felt this calling when I get out, continue preaching the word of God, continue to reach people, but get active because, you know, President Trump and this agenda that he has, although he's doing absolutely stellar, there's only a certain amount of, you know, work that the government can do. They plateau after a while, and the rest is culture war.
Quick question. You know, when you were in prison, were you a victim of anti-Semitism?
No, I wasn't. No, in fact,
I mean, I heard that you mentioned it on Spaces. I heard that you mentioned Spaces that you were getting anti-Semitic attacks.
No, I never got any anti-Semitic attacks. There were some people that I had brought underneath my wing in prison, some scrawny white Jewish guys that I had to say, hey, they're with us. You know, they're going to get eaten alive here in Brooklyn. They were they were only eating kosher. So they were only eating matzah and apples because they weren't giving them any other kosher food. So these guys were like 90 pounds. One of my other brothers, J6 brothers, can tell you, we basically pulled them underneath us and just said, like, you know, nobody's going to bother you. You guys are with us. Eat at our table.
Who's Tim Hale?
Tim Hale is that kind of, okay, so that's a different scenario. From the J6ers or from actual prison? Because you're talking about two different scenarios here.
So explain Tim Hale, because he has come out. Apparently he shared a cell with you, right?
Yeah, for a short time. Yeah, we used to be best friends. We were great friends for a little while there, sharing adversity together, getting to know one another, roughly the same age, from almost the same area, the tri-state area and whatnot. But eventually jealousy just took over his heart because I started my own January 6th organization. His aunt had one. I started out fundraising. I made some really big documentaries and just like jailhouse drama. But yes, he would try to basically undermine, similar to a lot of these like right-wing influencers that just came out of the woodworks. Like, I haven't done hundreds of interviews preaching the name of Jesus, running podcasts, baptizing people for years. Even before prison, I was running podcasts for, you know, teaching the Bible and baptized before I even went to prison. But none of that matters to these people. They were looking to misalign my, you know, patriotic fervor and say that it's some type of Jewish subversion, some type of, you know, Israeli this, you know. And
we're gonna go through that. We're gonna go through that in terms of whether it was, because I don't think...
So basically Tim, God bless little Timmy, I call him little Timmy, stuck in a well, crying. He's cried so many tears over me that he's got his own well. He's cried himself into.
He said he was your cellmate and you were a Fed.
Oh yeah, I'm a Fed. I did 900 days solitary confinement. I have absolutely zero documentation of me ever working with any law enforcement agency. I've never sat down with the prosecutor. The only time I ever, when I first was arrested by the FBI, I sat there for 2 hours on the trip from Newburgh, New York, to New York City, and literally, excuse my language, shit on these guys for 2 hours straight. I told them how our founding fathers are rolling in their graves, how they're traitors, you know, all this stuff, just berating them and endlessly barreling on. By the time they got me to the FBI field office, they looked at each other. They said, this guy's not going to answer any questions. Let's not waste our time. And that was it. I said, okay. And then they fingerprinted me and I left. So, you know, and there's no record anywhere of any way, shape, or form. I've been the reason why there was been a split in some of the January 6th community is because early on I came out with a speech to the whole unit. And I said, no plea to tyranny. That was the name of the speech. And I told them how our honor and our integrity was on the line. We cannot plea out. We have to stand firm. What we did on January 6th is what our founding fathers would have done. And a lot of guys, obviously, like 80% of January 6ers took plea deals. And so I very on the onset, you know, got a lot of stigma against me because I was like, you know, using this strongly worded language of let's, you know, stand up and never bow down and stuff. So obviously some people.
I am reading here, Maze just sent a message. She said she was basically relaying your information through prison on Spaces. And in there you did say that you were Jewish.
Yeah, well, I have Jewish bloodline. I mean, if you count Jewishness as an ethnicity, not just a faith, then I guess 50% of my ethnic background is Ashkenazi, Russian, Jewish. But you know, that's not my faith. I guess that would be. But I'm also personally wanting to start to question if Judaism is even an ethnic background because there are different ethnicities it comes from. Sephardic Jews are from like the Middle East and North Africa. I'm from Russia. What kind of ethnic tie does my genome have with a Sephardic North African, you know, dark skin?
Well, those who believe basically those who claim Jews are an ethnicity. And by the way, if you don't, that means you shouldn't believe that the state of Israel should exist because the claim is based on ethnicity, right? Now, the claim is that
they should exist as much as they can fight for their existence, just as any other people.
Yeah, but
I don't say
for
because I'm America
that
first,
they say they're
America only. I don't really even have an opinion on the matter.
But
care less.
We're going to get into whether you have an opinion on it in a second. But the claim is, because I understand both sides of the argument, but the claim is that your Jewish ancestors bred into Eastern Europe, because remember they were basically removed from Israel and they went to many different regions. They scattered, and as they scattered, when they went to Europe, they married white people, and then you were the offspring of that, and they went to the Middle East and married brown people, and then or Arabs or black people. And
well, my argument even goes before that, but it's so nuanced, and I really want to focus on macro level discussions with you because you do get into these micro nuanced things.
Okay, so let's get into this because one of
the
the
things I don't want to be there,
about,
but I do believe I have to say this. I believe the 12 tribes of Israel were white. All right. God, and I say this famously, God would not make himself not a white person. Okay. Jesus was white. That's hilarious. You got it. That's the best. God would never make himself not white. So I believe Jesus was white. The 12 tribes of Israel were white. So, you know, take however you want to take it. Internet.
What's the basis of your belief?
There was, now I got to quote the people I don't even want to be quoting. But anyway, Stu Peters had on this biblical scholar, not Stu, but this biblical scholar. I said his name a bunch over the last couple of weeks, but anyway, it's escaping me right now. And he was saying that the 12 tribes of Israel were actually white men, and I believe that to be true.
If it's the guy I know, that guy's Jewish, right?
No,
it might be one of your cousins.
No, maybe God, you know, God willing, who knows?
But no, okay, let's get into the Jewish thing because I think it's only fair for you. Because one of the things you're upset about is the fact that people have been calling you Jewish and they've been calling you a Jewish.
No, not upset about being called Jewish. That would be insane to be upset about being called Jewish.
No, but a Jewish subverter.
Using that predicate to say that I'm a false Christian, that is some type of see. There are some people on like the middle ground area, like yourself, that were like blaming my Dearborn March on me being Jewish. That is an argument I'm willing to have, and we can go through that. But what I'm not willing to stand for, which is why I really, really push back hard on these people, is saying that I'm somehow tied to the state of Israel and I'm being paid by them to do subversive things in America. But like they'll go back and say I wasn't even in prison. They will tell me, and it's offensive to me because this was a huge psyop, that I wasn't even in prison during those years that I was in prison, starving with rats crawling around my feet without sunlight. People have been saying that for years.
No, but I mean, out of the main people that you were upset with.
No. Nobody out of the main people said that, but it ties into this whole entire, like, January 6th was an operation and Jake was a provocateur, bad actor, paid shill, all those words, right? Well, bad actor.
Yeah, but let's get into it.
And then again, he's bad actor here.
No,
and
but look, a lot of us do believe.
7,000.
But Jake.
Plus 7,000. See, that pisses me off because then that goes at the integrity of my movement, the integrity of who I am and what I stand for. You can call me all day long, couldn't give it, you know, I'm gonna look right in the camera. I look more white than you do. 90% posters from India calling me, oh, you're that. I stand up for white people. I believe in the God of Jesus Christ. I stand up for Republican Christian values, and I'm here fighting the good fight, and my skin's white. So shut the
Okay,
or come and see me at my next march instead of just being a keyboard warrior.
So let's get into that.
Just like I would in prison. When I ran the white car, I would have sat down the white guys and put them right in line.
Well,
and like, if you're not with us, guess what? You have no protection.
Okay, Jake, the problem is that one of the problem that people have, and we're going to go through why people think that you're right, and why people have question marks about your integrity. But in terms of the reason why people have a look at people like you with acutely is because a lot of people, Zionists, for a very long time have subverted by making themselves seem white and have destroyed Western society and have caused issue between Muslims and Christians. So now I want to see, because I
agree with that. Well, let me add to that, because one of the things that pushed me over into like the I'm just America first, America only, is like reading articles in like the Telegraph or all these other UK programs, written by some white liberal lady saying like, white people need to stop having kids, and all this like Hollywood subversive, basically satanistic, they're Luciferians. They don't believe in the God of the Bible, Yahweh, that's for sure. And so you mix that in with like the owners of the porn companies, Blacked, right, pushing this interracial, disgusting filth on our children, the porn company Blacked and Pornhub and OnlyFans being owned by I mean, they're not any type of Bible believing, but they have the same, I guess, ethnic background or whatever. And so, yes, I vehemently stand against those people. And that's why I'm a Christian, because I don't have I don't have any leeway in the social sphere of being a Christian, nor by the word of God to promote sexuality of inner bestiality. I mean, it's disgusting.
So Jake, we'll speak about that in a second, because this is going to be about the broader issue that you have with Islam, right? But just before that, because we need to understand, right, like in terms of you. So you are somebody who was when we've all seen the video, right? You went to the wall, you kissed the wall. I mean, not just kiss the wall, you snugged the wall. Like, you were in there so hard, I've never seen anything like it. I actually thought some porn director was directing it. But you also had the tiffle on. You were getting in there like really hard. So explain that to us. What were you doing at the wall with the tiffle, on, really submersing yourself into the identity?
Well, so, when you grow up as something having a heritage of, people in your family, even though I went to Catholic school, right? First Holy Communion, baptized, prayed every night with my 6'3" German father, last name Long, you also have an identity, small amount, obviously, even though no matter how secularized or Americanized, my mother is, which she, we never went to temple like that. Once a year, we would light the menorah for Hanukkah, and it wouldn't be like, it wouldn't be part of like my everyday identity. It was just like, hey, our ancestors, 3,000 years ago did this. So, one time out of the year when we had the Christmas tree, we'll do the menorah and, and sing the song. So it was more like family heritage based, not, religiously based, because my mom's a secular woman and she doesn't go to temple. I've been to temple maybe 3 times in my life.
Hanukkah's a religious concept though.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, it's from the Bible, from the Maccabees book in the Catholic Bible about the miracle that was delivered by the hand of God, but it's part of the Christian faith. Jesus in Matthew 10, and whoever, let's talk. Matthew 10, let's go to Matthew 10, because Jesus is celebrating Hanukkah in Matthew 10, by the way, the festival of lights there. So let's not get too crazy.
These are better Christians, basically, you're saying?
No. Christians are better Christians. Gotta work on themselves. We got too many Pornhub owners out here. So listen, when you go to Israel to visit a family member, right, you're walking through Jerusalem, and I was already 20 years old. I never had a bar mitzvah. Like at 13, like if anybody in my family was even remote, I would have been forced bar mitzvah at 13 years old. Never had that, never even had that in the question, because that's not the way I was raised. I was raised an American white Catholic kid. So when I go out there to go visit a family member in Israel, I go and get the tourist trap. Boom. Right now, we'll give you 2 bar mitzvahs for the price of 1. My 80-something-year-old grandmother was there, my mom, people that are in my family that are, and so they want to do the celebration, go to the Wailing Wall there, and you pay $300, and some guy wraps your arm up and stuff. He says the word in Hebrew, you repeat the word in Hebrew. So it's like a tourist thing.
You were like a good boy.
I was a good boy for one time in my life. My family was happy.
You had a certificate and everything, right?
What's that? See, I don't know what a certificate is.
Like an award. They were giving you an award. Like there was this paper.
No, certificate. I can't understand half the shit you say because you're not speaking English.
No, I'm speaking English, but it's British English.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
But no, a certificate. Yeah, if you see the certificate says 13 on it, like for a 13-year-old boy.
I thought you were 13.
No, I was a little bit big. Everybody with my grandpa was joking about it the other night. They were like, "That's a big 13-year-old." So anyway, It was just a part of like going to Ireland. If you're Irish, right? You go and you kiss a Blarney Stone, even if you're not Irish. There are just certain things you do. I'm obviously me having a background, I went to the full level there, and I didn't just kiss the wall. I got the whole bar mitzvah experience there.
Yeah.
But it's not like something I came home with. It's not like right when you kiss the wall, your soul leaves your body, and now you're an Israeli agent and an asset for the rest of your life. There are people, Americans, that have visited Israel, kissed the wall, and they're still America first, freedom-fighting patriots who will take a baseball bat to the skull of tyranny if need be.
I mean, the thing is, so I've seen people go to the Wailing Wall and kiss it who are also not, but none of them had the tiffle on. They didn't do the bar mitzvah.
I had bloodline, so
Yeah,
it was like something
this is
that
the
they
point.
offered me.
So you had that, but then but your recent claim in this space is, or so in this conversation, is that while you were in jail, you were a Christian.
Yes, while I was in jail, but even before I was in jail, during COVID 2020, I used to be very deeply involved in New York City hospitality and nightlife. I was 7 nights a week out, living a wanderer's life, right? The quintessential every night out, girls, parties, all of that. It was 7 years straight.
So you rejected. You were a Christian.
I wasn't anything during that time. I wasn't following Christianity or.
No, sorry. I mean, when you came out of prison, you rejected and you were a Christian.
Yeah, as much as can reject being the basis, the first part of the Bible. I reject more of the subculture that goes along the Americanized or the Zionisticized ideology of as far as like this having beholding
which
to any other
denomination of Christian are you?
Me, I'm a born again believer, Bible believing, Bible thumping, rough and tough.
Which denomination?
There's not. That's called a born again believer is a non-denominational, somebody that believes in the word of God purely. They can go to any church, anywhere that Jesus Christ's name is spoken. We can be there in the midst.
Okay, let's look at this though. So you have that situation. You're a born again Christian.
Yeah, in 2020 during COVID, basically.
So why is it on?
Nightlife stopped for me, and I had to look myself in the mirror, and I got close to God. I started reading the Bible, going to church, was baptized. Really had an awakening in my soul, saying, you got to get out of this childish nonsense, and start to put together a life of legacy like Charlie Kirk would live or something,
So why is it on June the 3rd? So you come out of prison, you've been out of prison for 5 months, right? You're a Christian, you've baptized lots of people, as you claim. And then on 13th of June, you post the video of you snogging the wall. Why would any Christian post a picture or a video of him snogging the wall with the tiffle on?
Well, first of all,
because that's you representing your Jewish.
Paul, that could have just as easily been Paul snugging the wall there, right? Saul turned to Paul. But the reason why I posted those videos is because, and this is so easy, I saw the Islamic Muslim invasion of Israel like coming to a head. No, I really did. I see, you see this.
How did the Islamic Muslim invade Israel? What are you talking about? Israel struck first.
We hear,
Israel struck first, bro. What are you talking about on the 12th of June? No one denies that.
No, first of all, October 7th, but I'm not here to.
October the 7th was again.
Listen, Israel, Palestine, all you guys in the Middle East. How about that?
I'm not in the Middle East.
We don't want to argue it. We have an epidemic in our
No, but you're not answering the question.
Why
did you post on the 13th of June? Why did you post on the 13th of June? He's not answering the question.
No, I will answer the question. No matter what happens, if I see Jerusalem fall to Islam, I will crusade, whether it's by the side of Christians, by the side of I don't want those dirty, those pedophile worshiping in the Holy Land.
They don't worship a pedophile.
Taking it over.
Wait, 1 second.
That's
1
how
second.
I feel.
1 second.
Like
1 second. Obviously, you support the.
That's why I said that.
Yeah, but listen. So obviously, what you basically said is because there's two fallacies in your point. Because it wasn't Christians, because actually the Christians in Gaza, where the oldest church are, they stand with the Palestinians. You don't stand with them.
All these
you don't stand with them. You stand with. You don't. Let me finish my point.
Nobody believes it.
No, but
we see the videos of Christians being beheaded. They're treated like
that's not happening. Right, Jake, you
Islam.
need to let me finish my point. I'm gonna let you finish your point.
You're trying to psyop your people. Oh, Islam and Christianity, they go together so well. It is such a disgusting.
All right, Jake,
are you
gonna let's have a civilized Jake, we need to have a civilized conversation. You need to let me Jake.
We don't want to be your friend.
Jake,
get out of our country.
Okay, Jake, can we have a civilized conversation? You say something and then I say something. We can both scream over each other, but no one's gonna enjoy that. People want to hear your position and people want to hear my position, right? So I'll cede the floor to you if you want to give your position, but then when I speak, if you can let me finish my position, this is how academics speak.
I was saying the Holy War. I was coming at this as a Christian crusader. That's like my new. If you ask my political party, right? If you ask my ideology, if you ask those things, I'm on full crusade mode. I believe like 50% of white men my age are basically past republicanism. We're past MAGA. We're past America first. We're past America only. We're in full crusade mode. So the reason why I posted that photo, albeit not in good taste with with today's viewing of what the fidelity of kissing the wall looks like, was really to make a statement like, I'm ready for a holy war and the Muslims, let's go to war. That's what I'm saying. you know, because that's what it truly is. Look at London, look at Berlin, look at Rome, look at New York City, look at these places where these parasites have infected us. President Trump's doing the Lord's work right now. I don't want violence. I want holy deportations. If you ask me, the best holy war right now would be holy deportations, mass denaturalization, mass deportation. Get all you guys out. Every green card holding Muslim jihadi, get them out. We don't want you. We're taking our gas stations back. We don't need you to pump our gas that badly. Please leave our country. We are on crusade mode here. The future of Western civilization, the future of white civilization, the future of Christian civilization is independent upon getting you guys out. And if that means destroying AIPAC in the process and a bunch of these other NGOs, Jewish and Catholic NGOs, because the Catholics love, for some reason, funneling freaking brown people into Europe like it's no tomorrow. But so do the So we need to reject all the ideology.
Okay. Do you want to? You're just going into so many tangents, Jake. You're going to so many tangents.
Crusader pill, my friend. I just crusader pill.
Let me respond.
Audience,
okay, let me respond. Let me respond to your alleged crusader pill. And let's talk one topic at a time, because you're trying to scattergun loads of points, and then we're going to end up monologuing like 10 minutes each, and it's going to be boring for both of us. So, in the first problem with your point is that you posted on the 12th of June, Israel attacked Iran. Israel attacked Iran despite the fact that the United States of America had planned negotiations on the Sunday. So they're the ones who were attacking. The second problem is that you posted a day after that. You posted supporting your nation of birth, which is Israel, because you're an Ashkenazi. And so you need to have a bit of control. You need to have a control.
Talking about? I was born in Middletown, New York.
Okay, you need to have a bit of control, right? And what I mean is, you guys believe it's your birthright. So just let me.
I don't believe that.
No,
I
mean Ashkenazi do, but look, you need to Ashkenazi do. Look, you need to have a bit of civility, right? But I know you believe in Jewish supremacy, where you guys can overtalk.
Civility. I'm on crusader mode,
brother. But I only have this problem with. I only have this problem with premises. They believe that they can overtalk people, but you know what it is? All man is equal according to Christianity and Islam. So let's try and base it on that, as opposed to right. So now, in terms of, and so this is why I let you speak, and I disagree with everything you said, and you did scattergun. Now, in terms
you said it was my country of birth, so that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, you guys believe it's your birthright. So what happened was, when basically they went to war with Iran, Iran then were about to respond. And you saw the response that happened. This gave you this kind of longitude, this love towards what you guys believe is your birthright. And so then you posted. And what did you post? You could have posted anything. You posted a video of you snogging the wall, having the tefillin on. As you mentioned, your family is mentioned it earlier on here. You have a massive link to the heritage. And so that's the real reason why you did it. And this is the problem with what people have seen, because if that video was from when you were 20 years old, if that video was from when you were 20 years old, that's a different story, because I can understand why.
The video is from when I'm 20 years old.
I mean, if you'd only posted it when you were 20, that would have been a different story, because I can understand.
Say holy war
I can understand why someone would do that, even though I wouldn't be so influenced. But I can understand how maybe a weaker person, by the family members, push them, and they're like, okay, I'll be a good or whatever, and they'll do it. But
it's nice thing to do for your 80-year-old grandparents.
But you end up doing it on. You end up posting on the 30. He can't help himself. He can't help himself. He can't control the supremacists.
Because we're getting into it now. So
the supremacists can't control themselves. The supremacists can't control themselves. And so, in reality, and what the worst thing about what you did was, not only did you show yourself snogging the wall, representing your connection to Israel, you also were clamoring for war with Iran, and you wanted U.S. troops to go to war with Iran. Your actual tweet talked about how you wanted America to join the war and that you would also join. You wanted Americans to risk their lives, to put their lives on the line for the state of Israel that has occupied the United States of America and destroyed it. Destroyed the US, destroyed the UK, destroyed Western civilization. Again, it shows, that you were acting as a traitor, even though you may or may not have realized it. In addition to that,
I don't agree with that.
Well, I'm going to give you a chance to respond on that. I think
let me respond to that.
No, but I need to respond to all your points. But I need to respond to all your points. This is why I didn't think it was a good idea to do the scattergun, which you did. Let me cover them points, and we'll talk specifically about this point. The second thing is, you said that we worship the pedophile prophet. First of all, no one worships the prophet, peace be upon him. The second thing is, he isn't a pedophile. We can discuss this as well.
P be upon him? Did you say? Peace be upon him.
Peace be upon him. Yeah. I know you don't like peace, do you? The don't like peace, you see. So I understand why you guys would get confused with that word. But
Jesus himself said, "I came not to bring peace, but a sword of division."
Who said that?
Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior,
okay.
said, "I did not come to bring peace, but a sword of division, to separate the sheep from the goats."
Okay. Well, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I'll take your word for it.
From the mongrels.
Okay. So now, coming back to it, that's the other fallacy. The other point you made is about Europe being taken over, or UK being taken over by Muslims. Again, that's fake news. Now, in terms of going back to the point in terms of Israel or you being a subverter, is because you leave prison on January the 6th. You then on June 13th, after this war starts, which hasn't got anything to do with the United States of America, even Charlie Kirk, who's probably one of the most pro-Israel Christian guys in the United States of America, didn't want the United States of America to join the war with Israel against Iran because he didn't want U.S. boots on the ground. But you wanted it, but we obviously know why, because of your ethnicity. In addition to that, your claim was about Christians. And the other last point is in terms of Christians, because I'll try and keep it specific because I think it's going to get boring if we scattergun. In terms of Christians, your camera's turned to the wrong.
Am I turn? Is it right now?
It's right now, yeah. And then the other point is in terms of Christians. Yes, there is the oldest church in Gaza. They were and stood with the Palestinians. They're against the state of Israel. And the Israel actually sniped and killed 2 of the old Catholic women. Now, you can hold the position that, look, Christians, there's some Christians who are for and some Christians are against, and it's kind of, there's some nuance. I don't agree with that position, but you can hold that position. That's fine if you hold that. But then that, again, doesn't preclude you to say that you want to join Israel for a war when it makes no sense from a Christian perspective. Christians have had their Holy Land in Israel for thousands of years. Go.
Let me break it down this way, because we have to separate the Israeli government from the Israeli people, because the Israeli government well, you have to separate the Gazan government, Hamas, from the Gazan people too, because those are two different people. One of them is a militaristic, horrible, horde of Muslims trying to kill people, and the other one are people just trying to live their lives, which I support the Gazan people. I support the Israeli people. Both of their governments are disgusting. I don't care what anybody says. The Israeli government, first of all, don't support the Israeli government because of the things that we just recently talked about. The Luciferian, New World Order, central banking system, there's a million names for Illuminati. That area, the Marxist people, they're colluding along in with the Chinese and the Qatarian to try to eradicate white people from Europe and from America.
Why do you think white people have been eradicated, Jake?
Why? Because white people vote differently. Muslims vote 80% Democrat. They're for big government, big state, big Allah. They love bowing down. They love being sheep. They hate small government. They hate personal rights. Just like Jews also vote 60, 70, 80%.
80%.
Men vote 60%, women 80%.
No,
Democrat.
80%.
That's why why do these people want to destroy white, Christian, Western men, American and European? Because we vote correctly. We vote for small government, individual liberties. Muslims don't do that.
Who's these people?
Nowhere in the world where there's Muslims is there any type of constitutional, God-given, actual human rights. It's only dictated by big government, where it's Sharia government or just their big crappy government.
No, I'm asking you, Jake, you're not understanding the question. I'm asking you. I agree with you. No, but listen, you're not listening to the question. You're not listening to the question.
As I've already spoken.
No, you're not listening to the question. I'm asking you, which I agree with. There is a population collapse amongst the white population throughout the world, right? Me and you discussed this. We agree with this. I'm asking you, how did that happen? How did the white population collapse? Who was the cause of it?
Psyop. Oh, am I on? Okay.
Yeah.
Psyops.
By who?
Different people, but for mainly.
By different people. Which different people?
Well, obviously, first of all, let me get to my main point. The main person, the Israeli, Luciferian, Zionist, New World Order, central banking system, Rothschildian people that have pushed hookup culture, gangster culture, interracial culture, all that garbage on the American people. You're not going to hear this from a Mossad agent. So everybody calls.
Well, I don't know. You're not being very clear. You're not actually blaming the right people.
I just said all of the names of the same standard of people that we've hated for a long time. People that Jesus Christ called the synagogue of Satan. False Jews who pretend to be Jews but are not. False Jews. Those who do not even follow the written word of God in the Torah. They have no God. They're godless. They worship the dark.
Seems like you're scared to blame where it's Jew.
Not all because it's not all because you can go into a regular community and you're going to see, and I don't agree with the Hasidicization, just like the Islamification of any area, but you can go into a regular community and see family values and, the whole entire entrepreneurial, no crime, nobody's homeless, all the women are dressed modestly. So there are many that try to follow the, righteous teachings of the Torah, but we are talking about the usurpers. We're talking about the top class, the Muslim caliphate, the Islamic caliphate, the Catholic Church, the Marxist communist Chinese, and the Israeli Zionists. We're talking about the top level of all those different entities, right? All of them are super corrupt.
Who controls
the media? All of those entities I just named are all corroborating to destroy white civilization, because we're the only ones that will refuse to have an overlord. We're the only ones that can stand on our own 2 feet without our government babysitting us. White men are the only ones who can live in a republic. And that's why the invaders are sending in hordes of mongrels Indians, Pakistanis, Muslims, who are all Democrat, big government, just complete simps that are willing to live on their knees. White men, white Christian men specifically, are willing to die in wars to protect the integrity of freedom, our freedom, individual freedom. That's why the people, or whatever you want to call it,
can you see why people think that you might be a subverter? Because once again, you said a lot of things, but you haven't touched on the root of the issue.
I just said,
I'm going to explain to you why. No, but I'll explain to you. I'll explain to you, and I'll explain to you, and then you can respond.
I said,
I'll explain to you, bro. I know what you said. I know what you said. Let me explain to you with the fallacy of your statement.
Top crust.
Let me explain to you the fallacy of your statement. So what you did was you made two fallacies. The first one is in terms of the data. You claimed that Muslims vote Democrat. Actually, the data showed.
I just typed it into Grok. An hour before we got on.
Yeah, it's not. So it's about, according to some polls, is between 50 to 60% voted Democrat. Dearborn, Michigan, the place you invaded, voted Trump. On the other side, people can fact check. On the other side, 80% of them voted Democrat. So vote Democrat more than Muslims. That is unequivocal. Now, in terms of the second point, the reason why you're being deceptive,
between 70 and 80%.
You need to let me finish.
We don't want you here.
The reason why you're being deceptive is this, because what you say is, guess what? The problem is, it's Muslims and it's the CCP and it's this and it's that, and you try and hide the fact.
All of them.
Exactly. You hide the fact of who the real power broker is, because in reality, other people are trying to fight for power. Nobody's stupid to understand, no. But the person who sits at the top, and this is where your deception lies, because you won't mention you try and make them equal to everybody else, is the Jewish Zionist. Because in reality, it's the Zionists who control the media. It's the Zionists who control Hollywood. It's the Zionists who control the music industry. It's the Zionists who control the politicians. It's the Zionists who control NGOs and lobby groups. So when you look at all of the key components of how and the banking structure, as you mentioned, when you look at all of the key components that control the things that actually impact society, the thing that causes population collapse amongst the white population, destroys the black families, and bombs the Middle East, it is actually done by Ashkenazi. And so when you say that, when you make this claim, in reality, you're hiding it because you're like, oh, it's one amongst like many.
No,
that is part of your subversion.
I didn't level them.
That's part of your subversion. Go ahead.
I didn't level them in any given order. And believe me, what you're saying is true. I'm not here to fight that. You're going to see a lot of people think that we're going to fight. I'm here to just say Muslims and Islamic people don't belong in the West. I don't like the way they live. I don't like the smell. Why? The look.
Okay, let's talk about that then. If we agree on that, let's talk about the next thing. So
I'm America first, America only, and any subverter, including all of the overlords that you just named. Okay. Plus, how many politicians are getting umpteen dollars from the CCP and from Qatar? How many freaking right-wing influencers that are like simping for Muslims for no reason?
They're not simping for Muslims. I'll tell you what it is. Let me explain to you. Jake, let me relay this point to you.
They're getting paid from Qatar.
Jake, let me relay. No, they're not being paid. No one's being paid by Qatar. Let me just. I'm talking about.
Come on.
I'm talking about in terms of the right-wing influencers. I know none of them are the ones.
You're like the Muslim version of what you claim I am. Qatar can do no wrong.
No, I'm the opposite. Oh, Jake, unlucky.
Paying anybody.
Jake, unlucky. Jake, you're unlucky because
all the blame in like Psyop.
Out of us two,
it's all the Jews. It's all the Jews.
Yeah, Jake. Out of us two,
it's also Qatar.
No, but Jake, the problem you've got here is as my audience know, I'm out of us two, I'm the only one who is banned from the GCC because of my positions. So I have no affinity to any of these countries. Now, in terms
too. You don't know where I'm banned from? I was banned from life. I was sent
from
the Are you kidding me? I was banned from living life. You kidding me?
That's a good one. That's a good one. I give you that.
Oh, my YouTube account was banned. I was like, I was banned from talking or seeing my parents for 18 months. I was banned from getting a haircut or shave. For years, I had a big beard.
Okay, let me respond to your point. So in terms of Qatari influence, I'm saying when make the claim that there's Qatari influence, they do it on purpose to hide Israeli influence.
I'm not doing it like they're doing it.
Qatar is trying to influence. There's no doubt about it. And I disagree with Qatar because they basically have a deal with Israel. They've got the biggest American base in Qatar, and they've had that despite basically making sure Palestine doesn't have a state or something like that. So I have major issues with Qatar in terms of their foreign policy, in terms of their actions and what they've been doing. So I'm on your side on that issue. What I'm saying is the people you've been attacking, and this is important, the 4 or 5 people, the influencers who you've been attacking, those people.
No. I've been defending myself against claims that are not true, that I'm being paid by Israel.
They're not paid. I'm saying they're not paid by Qatar. They're not paid by Qatar. Now, I'll explain to you why.
I don't know if they are, but some of them are. I mean, who knows who's
they're not.
Paid
they're not.
Who.
I know them. I know a lot of them. I know a lot of them. They're not. So in terms of specifically, let's look at your point. So I mentioned about you kissing the wall. Then what happened was in August time, right? The state of Israel and Zionist billionaires did a study in a poll, and they said, what's the best way to stop hatred against Israel? And what the poll and the NGOs found was that the best way to stop the hatred against Israel is to start attacking Muslims and Islam. So every one of these right-wing influencers is aware of that. Then what happens? Literally 4 weeks later, 6 weeks later, good old Jake Long, the guy who's snogging the wall, comes along, like Jake Lang, it comes along and literally does his direct attack on Dearborn, Michigan. So now tell me, why did you go for Dearborn, Michigan? And also,
so let me explain a little bit of the transformation between June and now. I'm starting to read the room in American politics and see, regardless of your personal view on Israel, let's say, or the Israeli people, you're starting to realize that the breakup in the party, right, in the Republican MAGA right wing, is not worth ideological hills that you're willing to die on for no reason, for things that really don't matter to the integrity and future of your country. So you start to look around. You start to see, is this picture, is this imagery, is this stance going to be toxic to the end goal, which is securing a beautiful white Christian country majority for my children? That's the end goal. That's all we voted President Trump in for. So you start to say, is the ideological hill that I'm willing to die on, oh, Israel this, Israel that, regardless of my heritage, regardless of my personal understandings of what Israel's like or the people of Israel, is the imagery, is holding that stance beneficial to my ultimate goal, which is trying to propel the furtherance of Christian white America and the sanctity of Europe and of America remaining demographically not completely shattered, and in other ways a free society with, conservative values and family values. So I start to look around. In these last few months, I start to listen to more podcasts, hear more people speak, and say, maybe at this current juncture, and maybe forever, that these stances are actually hurting and pushing and driving Americans further apart, when we need to be uniting and saying, white women, we need babies, let's go. We need to stop the Jewish, brain control, the goy slop of NFL football players, 6'8" black guys, and that's the only thing that's sexualized in this country. All the white girls are they're fetishizing black guys, and you have all this goy slop, disgusting propaganda that's destroying the mind. So I'm saying, is Israel or anything in the Middle East, even mentioning anything in the Middle East, in whatsoever furthering the goal of bringing back white Christian American families, bringing back safe, small town, ideological America? And I start to look around and I go, this is all I have one crusade I'm on, and it's to save white Christian America before the only free country, the only free people, the only people that look like me, that are my gender, my age, my race, my skin color, my heritage. We're the only ones that vote Republican, small government, family, individual freedom values. And I want to make sure that my people stay in control of my country. And that's it. White Christian men. And that's it. That's the only goal I'm looking to make right now. So that's why I announced a march on AIPAC, because I don't like those dirty bastards foreign influence either. I know right now the best thing for America, the best thing for the Nick Fuentes, Jake Shields, Jake Lang, Ben Shapiro, all this movement. Ben Shapiro's really not with us, but
he's with
for
you.
all this movement, he's definitely
related
not.
to you.
Well, God forbid. The best thing right now is to drop all these stupid ideological molehills that we've been battling on over anything outside of how do we get back the white birth rate and, livability in America, because all these things it's like arguing over an anthill in another country while your daughter's daughters are going to be Muslim or black. Your grandchildren are either going to be black or Muslim if we don't get it together, America. So drop all the Israeli care. Tell them no more.
Drop it.
Trump,
Drop
close off Israel from any more visas here. Close off Palestine. Let them fight it out. Let them declare the winner in their own medieval way. I fully support men striving against one another. It's one of the things that makes men men. So let them, winner takes all over there. I don't give a shit anymore. I just want white America to have a revival. That's where my ideological shift. That's why you're not going to see me post anything else about Israel or about the wall, about anything else. I'm going toe to toe with the Pakis, with the Indians, with the Muslims, with the ghetto blacks, with all of the South Americans that float over here, and with the Muslims. We're going head to head. White men saying we've had enough, get out of our country.
Notice he didn't mention.
I said Israel.
You keep saying, no, but you keep saying this is
I said Trump.
No, but this is the problem. Jake Lang, listen.
Get him out of here.
Jake Lang, this is the kind of, again, another example, because you know what?
You're not even listening when I say
no,
Trump.
You said Israel. You said,
listen,
it's because I understand your deception, you see. This is the thing. So you mentioned Israel. Yeah? You mentioned Palestine, but when you said about the United States of America, you mentioned every single race. You mentioned even one religion, but you didn't mention
are white, by the way. Look at us.
I mean, you guys can say that, but people don't realize they're not, right? So listen,
I don't agree with that.
I mean, I know you don't. Of course, you want to subvert.
Somebody come up to me and tell me I'm not white. You know what I mean? Tell me that.
I'm telling you, you're not white.
How can you, some dirty packy or whatever the hell you are?
How is a saying it?
tell me I'm not
with his
white.
little yarmulke and he's snogging the wall. Like, what are you talking about?
No,
Like, you were doing OnlyFans with the wall, bruv. Like, I never seen anyone go that hard into a wall ever in my life.
Listen, you're pro destroying my race and my people, white people.
Bro,
That's all you want.
No, you guys want to destroy white people. That's the problem. Is you to destroy the white people. This is the problem, though, isn't it, Jake Lang? You guys destroyed the white people. This was the issue. This is what you're trying to hide, and this is why people don't trust you. Because if you said this, you said no. But listen, if when you was given that kind of monologue, you said, "Listen, I'm gonna go after the." And I'm going to go after the Muslims. I'm going to go after the blacks, browns, whites, Pakis, Indians, and I'd be like, look, this guy's actually blagging it. He's blagging it, but he didn't.
On my page right now, I
don't care about your page. I'm talking about what you said in this
conversation.
I'm talking about this conversation, not what you said after.
We don't want any more Israelis. We don't want anybody who looks like you.
Yeah. But you should be... Okay, so we'll talk about that in terms of like who you want in the country.
The question is Greece, Israel, Europe, white countries, right?
Should someone like you be in? So what is one of the things you said is you want do you want to deport Muslims? 1 second. Do you want to deport Muslims out of? What is your ideal? We'll go into Islam in a second. What is your ideal America?
What is my idea of America?
Ideal America.
80% white.
80% white. It's right now it's about 58 to 62 depending. Right?
No, it's about 60%.
Yeah, that's what I
give
said.
or take.
Yeah, that's what I just said. You just said no. So in terms of you need a 20% shift, right?
You love to like push that 58 because you just want to like you actually goon later on. You'll goon to that number becoming 57 because like you have this tribalistic. You want to see.
No, I don't. I want America to stay. No, this is not true. I want America to stay a majority white. You want to subvert it and destroy it, and so you are pretending it's higher because you don't want the problem to seem that bad. Because your people destroyed white America, and you want to help them. But anyway, in terms of percentage,
my people, white Christian men are the only ones.
I mean, you're bro, like you admitted it. So in terms of 60 to 80%,
being Jewish is what? Being as a faith or being as a even a race? Because I'm not even.
I didn't say race. I said ethnicity. Ethnicity.
Russian.
You're ethnicity, right?
Yeah, but how is my?
This is why you went to Israel and then you had family in Israel, as you said, and this is why you snubbed the wall.
Would you call so? Just take away the religion of for a second. Would you call anybody from North Africa the same ethnic or racial background as anybody from Russia? How? They're not. They're Sephardic that are from the Middle East that are not the same ethnicity as Russians.
Let me ask you a question.
Away the faith.
If
a
black guy,
I'm not Moroccan. I have no African in me. I'm white. I'm Russian.
I know. We'll talk about this issue.
And Irish and German.
Yeah. We'll talk about the issue in a second because I'll explain to you how that works in terms of when you procreate, how you can then create either a hybrid, which is what you are. You're a hybrid. You're a hybrid of and a white person being created. You're a mongrel, right? That's basically what you are. So
no, but the Ashkenazis converted to.
Now you're mixing convert. Now you're saying convert. Now you're making it into a religion. So you can't switch. You have to keep it as ethnicity or religion.
Exactly
what it is
conflation.
From
Ashkenazis are not Sephardic
Jewish.
We are from
I know they're not. From Israel. I explained this to you already. From Israel, scattered to the world. Those procreated and their children became mongrels like you.
Some converts though, like the Ashkenazis, were Turkish converts. They were white Turks that then
Turks are white. So listen, Jake. Let me ask you a question.
The northern Turks are.
Listen, Jake. Let me ask you a question. So in America, you've got.
Go to northern Turkey.
So 60%. It's right now 60%. 60, 62, 58. It don't matter to me. It's too low. Whatever the percentage is, you want to get it to 80%. How do you get it from 60 to 80?
Denaturalization. That's going to be the word of 2026. Denaturalize these anchor babies.
Who gets denaturalized?
Migration. Chain migration.
Who gets denaturalized?
All of the H-1B visas, chain migration, refugees and their children, any green card holders and their children.
All green card holders.
What? Green, gone. Okay. All of them. Bye. Sorry.
Irrespective of race, or does it matter?
No, the Europeans get to stay, of course. We're a European white Christian country. They get to stay, of course. But not if they don't espouse American values. Then they got to go as well. What's
American values?
Small government, pro-individual freedom, First Amendment, Second Amendment. Very simple. Those are American values in the shortest, small sentence. So if they're online posting pro-homosexuality,
what about people who are not green card holders, but for example, I don't know, you mentioned before to me on the phone call, like communists.
Commies, yeah, get the commies out too, of course. But listen, there's freedom of thought here in America.
Exactly.
But if you have people that are not from here, if they're first generation anchor babies,
and they're
communists.
What about? Okay, let me give you an example. My friend Jackson Hinkle, he's American.
Being American is just like being Irish. It's just not a passport.
His parents came on the His parents came on the Mayflower, so he's original American, unlike you. And
How do you know where my father's? I've been generation 8 or 9 generations on my father's side.
Me and you spoke on the phone.
Yes.
But he's from the Mayflower, which is well before. He's from the original founding of the United States of America.
God bless him.
But he's
wild leftist, right?
But he's a communist. So would you deport him?
No, he's allowed to stay because he's been here for so long.
Okay, that's fine.
But first generation anchor babies or green card babies, that even if they're from European descent and they're communists, they got to go. If they're from European descent and they're first generation and they're not commies, they can stay.
Okay, cool.
Easy.
And what about
we're
Jews?
talking ABCs here.
What about
which Sephardic or white ones that have been here for 5, 6 generations or first generation? First generation got to go. Just like all the other minorities.
Is that including? And I'm talking all. So Sephardic, Ashkenazi,
well, no,
Mizrahi.
I mean, now you're talking about if they've been here for a long time and they're Americanized, secularized, or even if they have faith but they're not trying to Islamify or like through the Hasidic. You know, they have their own communities. Own
well,
language,
you can't just blame Hasidic because when you look at the destruction of the United States of America, it's not just done by Hasidic.
I'm talking about Hasidic because that's the one
people who are Ashkenazi. For example, but if you look at the owner of OnlyFans, he may even be your relative, right? He's Ashkenazi. If you look at many of the people,
no idea, but I hope he is removed from this country and OnlyFans is shut down.
Yeah.
I mean,
so what about
that's easy, but
what about second generation? What about second generation? I just want to try and understand your position. I've got no issue. I just want to understand it. What about second generation?
Now that's a different story. That's not from the age of mass migration. Second generation, their families, in even Black, Spanish, all those people, they have been baked into back when the American dream was still alive, when people were looking to assimilate. Nowadays, all the people, both all of the invaders right now and their first generation children are taught to grow up to hate America. They don't share our same values, so they have to go. They really do have to go. We want to restore our country and our national identity to what it used to be like. Now, we'll take 10% Black, 7% Mexican and 3% Asian. That's fine. We'll do that. That's fine. We can keep them around. I wish there was more Asians because they're very well behaved, but they have like a couple billion over on their side of the planet.
Okay, so you just mean
we don't
first
need to make this another breeding
ground. That's fine. I think I get the logic behind some of your position, so that's not like there's nothing to debate there really. I just wanted to understand what your position was, because what you're basically saying is you want first generation.
We want people that are going to vote the way that we vote. Don't vote like us, so they got to go, unfortunately, because they don't vote like we do.
But you said second.
You don't vote like we do. Your people, you all got to go before you turn us into a socialist, tyrannical society. Okay. It's unfortunate. Even people in my own heritage, right? They don't vote like me on one side of my family. I have my side, so they got to go.
Do they need to go?
They got to go. Got to go home. Sorry, find some. Okay, now I have
You're gonna send your mum back. You're gonna send your mum back to Israel.
She votes the way we vote, so she's okay. Listen, this is the most based answer for the question of Israel ever. We need the state of Israel because we need somewhere to send all the Jews when we kick them out.
See, this guy's always advocating for Israel. Then he says he's not a subverter.
Come on, that's pretty freaking base. That's
then he says he's not a subverter. But anyway, look, you go. Why was it you invaded Dearborn, Michigan?
I came to exercise my First Amendment right to show the low impulse control of those chimps in Dearborn, Michigan. That
I thought you talked about yourself.
No, I did not assault anybody, even when I was assaulted.
That's true. That's true. That was, but that what that kid did, just for the audience, I believe someone. First of all, you got a strong chin, bruv. But also, what that kid did was unacceptable. But they were like, and he punched you, right? And I hope he does get the full extent of the law based on that, because you cannot be violent against someone. You can disagree with someone. I disagree with you, but I would never be violent against you. We're having a conversation. This is what civilized people do. This is what Western society. This is what we are. We're Western. This is the key tenet of Western society is having conversation. I know you like a bit of violence on your baseball bats, but I think a key tenet of being Western society, especially British, is being a proper gentleman. So I disagree with the actions of that individual, but anyway, you invaded into the town. What was the reason for it?
This is America. We don't have borders between our states like that. And you have a man in a car, you can go anywhere, and it should look like America. It should sound like America. Should have the same food as America. Should be America.
Wait, so America has all type of, bro. I'm regularly in America. One thing I love about the US is you literally can get the best food of any culture anywhere.
You sound like Piers Morgan. I'd trade a bunch of Englishmen for a thing of curry.
I didn't say that though. I didn't say that, but you said no. But I didn't say that. I didn't say that. You just didn't understand the point. It might be too complex for you. Your claim was that the food needs to be like America, and I'm saying no matter where you go in America, you actually get different types of food.
Okay, I don't mind if there's like, a couple foreigners there. And
I didn't say about foreigners. I'm talking about food. I'm not talking about foreigners. You're confusing. You're acting like Piers Morgan. You're acting like Piers Morgan. You think foreigners mean food. I'm saying food. Yes, you could be making tacos. You could be making tacos as an example, right?
You can get that in America. But the point is to not have one ethnic background, Islam, which is not an ethnic background, but all of the subsects and the ethnicities that go mostly attached with Islam, take over an area, and they completely Islamify it. Everything. Street signs, language, prayer calls, music, food, the way people dress, everything. So yes, I agree with you. In America, you should be able to because it's a beautiful big country.
But
You
Jake,
should be able to go in
Jake,
every major city and get like
but
a
Jake,
couple different
but Jake,
dishes
have
from a
you
couple
been
different
to
countries.
like
But you shouldn't have
But have you traveled America?
modification.
Have you traveled throughout America? So, for example, as someone
Yes,
who travels to many states in the United States of America, you actually have that. For example, I went to San Francisco. They had Chinatown. It was literally full of Chinese people. Their stalls were on the streets. Their signs were all in Chinese, in Mandarin. Literally, you had the entire area of that specific place in San Francisco, which was completely Mandarin. So you have many places in the United States like that.
So there's a difference there. It's because when you're getting that baked into one large city, right? Like for example, Little Italy in New York, right? But you have right next to Little Italy, Little Chinatown, and you have in New York City and in huge cities like you're talking about, you're gonna have the races naturally come together and the cultures naturally come together. You have an area where there's a bunch of Turkish people, bunch of this, bunch of that. That is an American normal-ish thing. Not the peak of what we're looking for, but hey, it's no problem in a major city like that. But when you're talking about whole entire subsect, city council, the whole entire area, whole city, a massive area, 100,000 people.
What percent?
60%
What percent?
now.
What percent of Dearborn? Well, I know that figure. I just want
They
to
say
know.
55, but that was taken years ago. It's already past 60% guaranteed. It is 60% plus. And
Is that Middle East? I'm asking you a question. Is that Middle Easterners or Muslim? Because I was looking at the figures, and what it said was when it comes to the Middle Easterners in that area, it's like 35% of them are Christian. What do you call it? 55, 60%, 65% are Muslim. Like there's a big variation. But then what they say, so I assume from that, because I couldn't find the data, that because they do say 52% as well. But then, so I assume from that you've got Middle Eastern Muslims, and then you've got other non-Middle Eastern Muslims, and then you've got
like
Middle Eastern.
there.
Let me finish my point,
You
right?
saw all the kids surrounding.
Can you just understand, right? So and then you've got Middle Easterners who aren't Muslim as well in Dearborn, Michigan. Is that right?
Yeah, I did not personally, and I'm not going to say something. I'm not going to lie. I didn't meet a single Middle Eastern person there that wasn't Muslim.
Right.
I guess this phantom 35% of Muslims of Middle Easterns in Dearborn are not Muslim. That's crazy. That's wild. Diabolical. Absolutely diabolical.
Stats are
every
fake,
single
for sure.
person.
We don't believe stats.
Oh no, not that stat. Are you kidding me? Dearborn. Every single brown person in Dearborn is Muslim. I mean, let's be honest there. Okay?
I disagree with that.
Me
and you should go there together.
There was not a single one that came out of the 1,000
I mean, they were
plus
kids.
that I met.
They were like kids around you, bro. Of course.
Yeah, they were replicating like crazy. Every single kid. You can't find 300, 400, 17-year-old to 25-year-old. They were in that age range there. You can't find 300 white kids in that age range to come out of their house and do anything on any given time anywhere. In Dearborn, they're all these kids the same age are being pumped out. The takeover is here. Oh my Lord.
Like that,
they all look the same. They all dress the same stupid haircut. It's crazy. All screaming Allahu Akbar, spitting on me, throwing food on me, throwing dirt on me, punching me, slapping us in the back of the head. Everything
you were basically like saying derogatory terms. You were smacking bacon on the Quran as well. So you were inciting as well, right? I mean, they were going physical, which is unacceptable.
Go and walk down, let's say Boston, where there's hundreds of churches, very, very well-known Catholic area, right?
Yeah.
Christian white area. Go and burn a Bible in the middle of the street there, and tell me you're gonna have a mob of 500 angry Christians.
But if I went to, you wouldn't. I agree with you.
Literally pick up handfuls of mulch.
Jake, I agree with you. If you did it to Christians, I agree with you. This has been, if you look at my X page in 2020. Wait, 1 second. I'm gonna deal with your in a second. I'm gonna deal with your people in a second. But in terms of Christians, I'm gonna explain it to you. I mean, I disagree. Right, listen. So 2023, I agree with you. If you look at my X page, one of the things was when people were disrespecting Jesus and disrespecting Christianity, I used to tweet about it. That's actually what helped me become even more bigger in 2023 was because I was like one of the few people.
Are you sure that's not when you figured out how to buy all your followers?
No, I didn't buy any followers. I've got a huge amount of followers. But then you guys, your cousins got me demonetized, and you got my account deboosted, and you got the algorithm changed. So unfortunately, even though I've got 750,000 followers, unfortunately, last year I was the most viral account. I would get the biggest retweets, the biggest likes, the biggest shares, big everything. And then your people, because they control society, which is what you want to hide, they managed to basically attack my account.
I don't want to hide anything. I just want white people to have more babies in America to turn back to what was great.
I agree with you on that. But you interrupted me because what I was saying was in 2023 when I talked about the disrespect of Jesus and the disrespect of Christianity, that's actually what helped me blow up initially from a very small account. But when it comes to Jewish people, it's very different. If you were to go to a Jewish place or a synagogue, you do have people come out and get violent and aggressive. You do have authorities involved. For example, there was a protest just a week after yours or a few days after yours. what happened? There was just a protest outside a synagogue, and the reason the protest was there was because they were selling illegal settlements in the West Bank. And what did they do? Your people, they called it a pogrom. They called it that they were, they were being attacked. They went outside and physically started confronting people. They got the president of the United States, even when Mamdani and the president were in the press conference, they asked a question about it. So I would say that your people, the actually become not only physically aggressive, but they even get the media involved on their side.
Personally, I mean, your number one MO from this entire interview here is to pull me into talking about it's like your number one MO.
No, because I want you to be consistent.
And you'll always hate.
No, mentioned it. I'm asking you to be consistent. I'm asking you to be consistent.
You're like I know, but it's like your whole identity is wrapped up into like pushing, just like what they'll call these other influencers. Their whole identity is like wrapped up into this thing. So
yeah, because you protected them. You're getting exposed. You don't like it. I'm just saying, be consistent, Jake. I know that you're cousins. I know you're the brothers.
You're sitting there eating God knows what. God knows where.
You guys have got no food. You've got no food. You just stole other people's food. You guys stole other people's food. You got no food.
Yeah, we have the best food.
Well,
listen,
your
whole MO. That's
I'm Israeli.
Every conversation is just going to be like warping it back over there.
No, I want you to be consistent. No, but that's the point. No, but that is going to be it. So whenever you mention a problem,
we know that.
No, but this is the issue that I want you to understand. I agree with you on this, by the way. I'm not disagreeing. That one of my things is this: that when you make an argument, I just want you to be consistent. So if you said, look, I've got a problem with Islam on this, but I have the exact same problem with...
I don't like the Hasidification.
No, you keep saying Hasidification. This is the problem. You basically atomize it when it comes to the...
For the people don't know
atomize it when it comes to the... And I'm trying to say that if you said, look, I have a problem with Islam because of this, and also the have the same issue, or whatever, the Christians or whatever, but Christians should be allowed because it's a Christian country, but these three have the same issue, I'd be like, okay, you're being consistent, Jake. I understand but when you're like, oh, I've got a problem with Islam, but I'm going to be hypocritical and not mention the... That's actually what I'm doing.
That's what I'm calling you out. This interview. I mean, this is ridiculous. I never did that this interview.
I'll just give you an example. You literally said don't do that, and I gave you an example of when they do.
Q question 100 times over.
You just said, Jake.
You are so fixated. So
Jake, you just asked.
Your whole identity is wrapped up into hating Jews. If you were just walking around with,
doesn't like it.
100%, and so many people are, and so many white guys are too. It's like
it's because your people have been destroying society.
In symphonies, in ballerinas, in building tall buildings, in being great American patriots, being masculine, strong, smart, active. My identity is in the things I believe in. Your identity and people like you are in the things you hate. You are known for the things you hate. White American Christian men are known for the things you love.
Literally attack Islam. Your identity is to be your whole identity is to go to places and get thrown out. You basically went to J6 and you got incarcerated, which I disagree with. You were thrown out of CPAC. You were thrown out of CPAC. Your whole identity is to attack people and then try and go viral. That's literally your whole goddamn show. What are you talking about?
Listen, January 6th has nothing to do with
What about you getting thrown out of CPAC? What about getting thrown out of CPAC? What about getting thrown at CPAC and you were complaining that you were Jew? You complain about anti-Semitism. You complain about anti-Semitism. So listen.
No, I was complaining, first of all, because there are certain people inside the conservative movement, just as we know very well, that have been trying to smear my good name with he's a so you can't trust anything he says. Get the out of here. None of you people, all of these bench warmers, the bleacher creatures who sit and watch men of action, and all they do is ridicule. To the glory goes the man in the arena, the one who's fighting for his country, those who are standing up and doing something instead of every single living, loving.
What's the crime rate in Dearborn, Michigan?
What's
Jake, this is just like, bro, this is just like
podcasters.
Bro, this
just talk about drama.
What's the crime rate? What's the crime rate in Dearborn, Michigan?
I know that there are people that have threatened my life, punched me in the face, spit on me.
You're so emotional. It's just about you all the time. I'm asking you, what's the crime rate in Dearborn, Michigan?
I'm telling you that there are unanswered crimes caught on video in Dearborn, and that Sharia law police will do nothing about it.
So let me educate you. So the crime rate in Dearborn, Michigan is actually the crime rate in Dearborn, Michigan is less than the rest of Michigan, and it's one of the lowest throughout the country. So whatever's happening there is that it results in lower crime. In terms of other issues that you've got in terms of what's happening in Dearborn, Michigan, you believe there's too many Muslims in the area. Maybe you want to put some kind of quarter in certain areas. That's your prerogative. That's your choice. But you have certain areas where there does be a larger proportion of a specific race depending on what that area is. So that happens in the United States of America. Now, one thing I want to ask you about is this. You mentioned about Sharia law.
Totality. Let me just make a
Sharia
comment.
What is Sharia law? How is Sharia law coming to the United States of America?
It's a total, and it's already in England, by the way. Every divorce is not happening in civil court; it's happening in Sharia courts. Every single matter of, and that's true. There's 82 active Sharia courts right now in England, and it's coming to America. And I'm sure there are no divorces, no matters of any civility ever being dealt with in civil courts in Dearborn. It is all happening between the imams. This is the reason why Islamification is so destructive and dangerous to America. Because not only is it the brownification of America and the removal of our natural ideology or heritage and things of that nature come with being a white Western Christian man, or any of those things, but it's also a political ideology and movement. They build their outposts, their mosque, their forward operating bases. These are insurgency, militaristic outposts that not only are there to sculpt a religious fervor, but to change a political ideology and operate as another outpost. So the reason why Islam, on its facial value, on the actual way that it changes the makeup of America, is more dangerous than, let's say, a Korean town. You know, three towns down, there's a town that tends to have more Korean people. They're not in all ways looking to usurp the power structure, the ideology, the language, the food, everything. So Islam is an all-encompassing natural enemy to Western freedom and Western civilization. It brings all the necessary component to make itself antithetical to our way of life. Other people from every other country come here, settle down, move into areas where they're the predominant people. They don't breed with 5 or 6 wives. They don't open up military outposts. They're not running to take office and act like a tribe to get more of their people. Look at the Dearborn, Michigan mayor. $4,500 to the next brown baby that pops out of the 5th wife of Muhammad over here.
Okay.
They're hijacking
You're doing the same thing. You're doing scattergun. You're doing right. Listen, Jake, you're doing scattergun.
Jake, for their own replacement of white people.
You're doing scattergun. So let me respond to some of your points. And can you just keep it as like 1 or 2 points at a time, and then I can respond to them. So in terms of the Sharia courts, and I know this is going to upset you because again, it just demonstrates your kind of hypocrisy. But when it comes to Sharia courts don't supersede the legal system. The legal system is still present, just like Jewish law doesn't supersede in the same manner. You do know that there actually are the similar number of.
You're so fixated. Nothing of this has to do with
Judaism. He doesn't like it when you talk about his people.
You have like
he doesn't like it. He doesn't like it when you talk about his own because they are as religious as Muslims. This is why it's important to know. So they have that. And actually, Jake,
infatuation.
Jake, another thing that you won't like because you want it hidden about your people is that actually in the United States of America, right, you've never had Sharia law supersede American law. American law, the Constitution has always taken control yourself. You're chimping out. Control yourself. What is you doing? Supremacists can't control themselves. They don't have any kind of civility. Bro, you guys are uncivilized. Have you got any kind of Have you got any civility?
No, because you're
purposely what is the supremacy?
Like you're so like you are
supremacy. Why can you not? Why can you not just control yourself?
Why can you not control yourself? The land right now, but the matters.
What is this?
Let me finish.
What is it? No, I'm gonna finish my point. I was speaking. So, I was speaking. I was going to give you an example that there's never been a scenario where Sharia law has overtaken the American system, the American Constitution. The only religion that superseded American law, superseded the Constitution, was your people. There was a court case called Avitsa, and you love your litigations. Well, as you know, you're one of the main proponents of that. That shows your ethnicity. But Avitsa versus Avitsa.
By the court, baby.
Yeah, of course. So Avitsa versus Avitsa is one of the court cases, you should look into this, where actual law, how can a foreign law supersede American law? It never happened for Islam. It's not happened for Christianity, but it happened for Jewish law. It happened for only. That shows the level of law that has actually overtaken and occupied the United States of America. But you won't talk about that. You keep saying don't talk about them. Don't talk about them. Let me talk about Muslims. And when we expose it, you don't want to speak about it because in reality, you know the truth is going to expose you. You know your people are going to be exposed, and you don't like it. You don't like the fact that your religion is super in the American Constitution. You guys should be deported because you are actually taking control of the United States of America and destroying it. You're destroying it through the legal system, through the police system. I went to New York. You guys had your own police system. I went to a synagogue. I went to the Brooklyn, the underground sewers. I don't know if you were there or not, Jake, but I went there to investigate it. I don't know if I'm talking about the sewers. You know where the from the synagogue were jumping out.
When that story broke, I was in prison.
No, but it's still operating, so I don't know if you were there. Now, so when I went there after you were released from prison, what happened was it was still operational, but they had there, they had their dress on, they were dancing around, they were having their own religious, like dancing on the streets of New York, Brooklyn. You had their own police. They had their own fire brigade there, their own police, and then they had the New York police who also was situated there. So American taxpayers were being paid for it. But someone like you won't speak about that. Someone like you can't. That's why people consider you a subverter.
Listen, I don't need to
carrying out the
argument.
actions, either knowingly or unknowingly, either paid or unpaid. You're carrying out the actions of the Israeli government. This is why people don't trust you.
So let me address these things.
Go.
I already said.
And you'll see now, I'll be civilized and I won't interrupt it. Yeah, go ahead.
I've already said I'm against the Hasidification. Those are Hasidic Orthodox, changing the environment to fit it in a way that's un-American. I've already said that. So your argument that I'm trying to hide and your people, you're subverting, I already addressed this already. I'm against acidification of anywhere, just like the Islamification. I don't want to go into any place in America, any whole entire city, let's say like a Dearborn, that would be all people with their payas and different food and different language and everything. I would say this is un-American and we need to get them out. Same way I would say with Muslims. Now, that's dispelling your entire red herring argument. You're trying to subvert and divert the entire argument because you have a sexual infatuation with people for some reason. It's crazy. It's like it's locked in. It's key. We're arguing about hypocrisy. We're arguing about Sharia law in Dearborn, and all of a sudden you're like, let me take a right off the highway, 95 miles an hour, jump off an embankment, and you like that? By the way, throw that up there quick for you. Let me just drive off the embankment and start talking about Jewish courts, friggin' Asvira versus Asvira. Listen, we're talking about brown people in Dearborn.
Yeah, you want to talk about that?
That'll attack Christians if you go out there and you have a little bacon on the Quran. Okay? We're not talking about, so we can have that conversation. If you want to, yes, I am a Christian.
No, I mean, you're and didn't you go with Cam Higby as well, who is, again, someone who went to a
didn't go
trip
with
to
Cam
Israel,
Higby.
who also was...
But I never met him a day in my life. I didn't have his number until inside Dearborn City Council. We exchanged numbers in there so I could talk to him in the future. I had no idea he was coming. I never invited him. So God bless him. Thank you for covering
I listened to your speech in the council meeting. We can play...
Let me address back because you never got to answer my thing in Sharia court. You cannot be this ignorant, Sulaiman.
I'm very knowledgeable.
First of all, just
I know the knowledge. That's why you don't like it.
Okay, listen. Let me tell you how a gang operates. Let me tell you about oppression. Let me tell you about how things happen in real life.
Yeah.
Instead of, there's never
Ashkenazis know better than anyone.
There's never been an instance where Sharia law has been in America. Listen. The women are oppressed and cannot and will not and are not allowed to go outside any of their current social structure. If they have a problem, it is between their husband and their imam. They will have acid thrown on their face, they will be beaten, or they'll be ostracized for their community. Of course, none of these matters are being held in civil courts. They're all being taken care of behind the scenes inside their current social hierarchy because they are lesser than the men there. So they're not going to the courts to decide 90% of these things. They are saying their imam is telling them, you listen to your husband. This is what the Prophet, Muhammad alaikum, said to do. You have to bow down, wash his feet. I don't know his name even. I don't care about any of these disgusting ideologies. They're not going to American court. They're in a system of oppression where if they step outside of that system to seek any type of relief, they will be immediately ostracized or, if not worse, beaten or have acid thrown on them. So don't tell me that Muslim women in strict Muslim households are going out and starting to seek relief from the American government on issues of divorce or other civil matters. They are stuck inside an oppressive system that they are not allowed to even talk to another man or shake another man's hand on the street, let alone go file a lawsuit against her husband or just file divorce papers. It's all happening inside those oppressive, barbaric Middle East and medieval imams and their oppressive power structure there.
Okay.
So don't tell me you're too ignorant to the fact that's happening.
I actually have knowledge of all three religions, so let me debunk your claim on that as well. First of all, in terms of whether Christians or Muslims should handle civil matters within their own religious, within their own society or community, I think that's extremely important because I think society, and I know Ashkenazi Jews don't agree with this, they want to destroy the family structure amongst blacks, whites, but I actually think it's a good thing because what happens is a woman, unfortunately, she does have this situation where she is manipulated, and this is why divorce rate is high, this is why there's population collapse, this is what you guys encourage. In reality, what should happen is when a woman wants to divorce a man, even if she's Christian or Muslim or Jewish, she should speak to the community first. There should be a situation where there's an ability to bring these people together before you go to divorce court. So actually, I think it's a good thing, and this is why divorce rate is lower amongst Muslim communities, and I think it should happen in Christian and Jewish communities. Let me look. You're interrupting again. You're interrupting again, and then so that's the first thing. The second thing is in terms of the oppression of women. That's actually two of the things you mentioned in Dearborn, Michigan, in the council meeting. You mentioned about the rights of homosexuals, and you mentioned about the rights of women. Those were the two of the things you mentioned, right? And I want to speak about both of those things. And I know you don't like it, but as someone who actually studied philosophy and theology, this is why I know the fallacy of your argument. Because in reality, when you look at the claimed oppression of women, whether it's Islam, Christianity, or all three religions have very similar positions. I know you don't because you're a liberal Ashkenazi person, but they have very similar. Yeah, but they have in terms of homosexuality and feminism. You are quite clearly. This is a proof of it.
No. Because I believe in the freedom of people to exercise themselves. Listen,
I get it. You're a woke liberal. I get it. Let me debunk your argument. Let me debunk your wokeness. Let me debunk your wokeness, because he went to the council meeting and the two things he cried about is homosexuality, LGBTQ values, feminism,
No, not
liberalism.
values, rights.
So
I have
this is what they
family
do.
values.
Even these Ashkenazi Jews, even when they're the right wing, they want to bring feminism in to destroy Christian society and Western society, and they want to bring LGBTQ. This is actually how you guys destroyed Western society. This is actually how you guys destroyed Western society. But let me tell you what actually the Bible says, because I know you find it to be evil and abhorrent. Because actually the Bible actually holds the same opinion on women. Actually, the Bible, when women, actually, I think the Christian and Jewish position on women is actually, it makes more sense to me, because they're more stricter. They're more stricter on women than Islam is, because they say a woman, as an example, let a woman learn quietly with all forms of submission. This is Timothy 2:11. I do not permit a woman to teach. I do not permit a woman to teach or to exercise any authority over a man. And then he also says, Adam was not deceived, but the woman was deceived. And because she is a transgressor, she is, and also in terms of inheritance, a woman doesn't have inheritance rights in Christianity and Judaism.
That's not true. There's nothing in the Bible that says anything about inheritance in the New Testament. In the Old Testament, yes.
Numbers 27:8. Let me read it to you.
Numbers is a Old Testament text.
Numbers 27:8 says, stating that a daughter does not inherit anything if she has brothers.
Yes, that's Old Testament. That's ideology. That's not the Christian.
But Timothy is
Yes, so what I'm talking about here is
so
the oppression.
Do you reject the Bible on that? Do you accept it?
I accept every written word of God.
Do you believe that under Corinthians that basically the man is the head of the household?
Any woman in any authoritative position in America, that is part of the feministic overhaul of our country.
That's what you're crying about.
What I'm saying when I'm talking about homosexuals and women, like I did in Dearborn, homosexuals don't deserve to be thrown off rooftops. That's what I'm talking about, the oppression of homosexuals.
So we'll talk about homosexuals. Wait. Let's talk about women first.
And women don't deserve to have to cover themselves from head to toe, where you can't even see their eyeballs, in the full burqa, full hijab, full crazy thing, and where they're treated like dogs and like breeding animals, where you have 4 or 5 wives, you don't love any of them, you're just using them all for breeding, for your political takeover of the world.
In terms of head covering, is that in the Bible? In terms of the head covering, is that in the Bible when you're praying for a woman?
What's that?
In the Bible, for a woman needs to cover her hair.
Wear any kinds of beads or anything in her hair.
No, I'm not talking about Judaism. I'm not talking about Judaism. You're getting confused. You're getting confused with the religions. So I'm saying a woman, when she goes to the church, according to the Bible, she's meant to cover her hair, correct?
Yes. A man's hair is cut short.
Exactly.
Naturally, a woman's hair, so she keeps away the angels from looking. But covering in a veil, not in the face. But the hair.
So face is different. So Jake, face.
Yes, the face is the natural part of a human being. How are you going to cover up somebody and make them live every day of their lives?
Okay, one second. Let's get into this. So we accept.
Oppression.
Yeah, I'm gonna speak about it. 1 second.
It's dehumanizing.
1 second. I know you're a feminist. Listen. So first of all, I agree.
You want all Americans and everybody on the globe to wear burqas. Everyone.
No, I don't.
That's your.
I'm going to explain it to you.
You believe in the supremacy of the takeover of the whole world of Islam.
No, listen. You need to listen.
That every woman in the world, their identity should be there.
Jake, listen. You need to listen. I've written a book.
Conversation.
Listen,
no,
Jake,
you didn't. I don't even know who you are.
Listen, I've written a book on this. I've written a chapter on the niqab. I actually hold the position that this is not in Islam, because it's not in the Quran and it's not in the Sunnah. So I believe that this was an innovation that happened later. So if you look at the biggest school within the Hadith, it's not in the Hadith either. So this is the point. This is what my book shows. It shows that actually this was never in the Quran and it was never in the Hadith. This was something that was created later, is my position. So I don't believe that there is such a thing as niqab in Islam. Let me be clear on that. That being said, even though I don't believe that there's such a thing, right? When I've mentioned the points to you, the first thing is in terms of rules over the women. I've demonstrated how Christianity, Judaism, and Islam are very similar. And and the covering of the hair, they have the same. Actually, inheritance laws are stricter in Judaism, right? And I believe it's in Christianity, but I can't find the exact verse. But in terms of Islam, the only thing you had left about Islam was the face veil. And I'm saying the face veil isn't found in Islam. But if a woman specifically wants to wear it, that should be her right to do so. I thought you believe in the right of a woman to choose. I thought you believe in the right for a woman to choose.
Because this is my most powerful point. I need to address this right now.
No, so but do you agree with that?
You live. I don't know what to agree or disagree. You live in a fantasy world. I didn't hear what you said, so I'm already on my next topic.
Yeah, you're confused.
No. This is the biggest part about you. You live in a fantasy world. If you were the king of every Islamic bastard in the world, you would say no niqab, right? So according to your ideology, I'm just looking at in practice, okay? In practice, in every Islamic country, women are oppressed, gays are oppressed. Their actual life's in danger, and women are completely oppressed.
They're not.
In European white civilization, gays and women are not oppressed. They shouldn't have as much power as they have. God forbid. That's definitely wrong. but I'm talking about in the actual practice. You're talking about the religious texts. Christians say that the women should have no inheritance and they should cover themselves and this is that. I'm talking about my society I live in right now. When I walk out on the street.
Oh, so you mean the fact that your society is liberal and it's rejected Christianity because of Jewish control? That's what you're supporting. Because the Jewish Zionists have destroyed Christian society, made Christians not Christians anymore. That's the society you like. This is the problem with you. You want the destruction of Western civilization. You want the destruction of the white population. This is the problem with you, Jake. This is what I've got a problem with you. You're
my hand is sworn on the Constitution of America and the God-given rights that are afforded.
Do they have a God-given right to wear the niqab on if they want, according to the Constitution?
Swear to a different ideology.
You Ashkenazi Jews. You want the destruction of the United States of America for the Jews.
You're just like the Sharia law police.
How? I'm against it. I'm just saying that you literally want liberalism in society. This is where our disagreement is. You're a liberal. You're a woke liberal. I get it. So this is where our disagreement is.
I'm an American, and
you're a woke liberal.
Assimilate to our country
you are
because
antithesis to Christianity. You reject Christianity.
Religious fervor comes before what we believe in this country, in America, that all men are actually created equal, and that there are certain rights inherent to us, given to us by our Creator. So I live by that.
So Jake, one question. Jake, listen, one question.
I want America to remain America.
I get it. You don't agree with Christianity. But listen, my question for you about homosexuality.
I agree with Christianity,
about homosexuality, because I know you look
living out of the Word of God.
You mentioned about homosexuality, and I know this is one of your other liberal talking points. You do know when it comes to homosexuality, what does the Bible mention about homosexuality? Because you said you read the Bible.
The Old Testament talks about killing homosexuals.
What about Romans?
Romans talks about that it is vile and decrepit. It's in Romans chapter 1.
Romans talks about killing the homosexual.
No, it does not talk about killing the homosexual.
It does.
It talks about that it's vile.
No, it doesn't. It literally says, if you look at Romans 1:29, it mentions...
So they're saying that their own stupid act of anal penetration is the just desserts they get for being gay. They're literally saying they're receiving inside themselves the curse of being homosexual when they get a penis in their ass.
That's not
true.
Literally,
that's how the end of Romans chapter 1
ends.
I know Romans chapter 1.
Yeah, Romans 29 gives you a number of sins.
Romans 1:29.
1:29, yes. That's what I said. So Romans 1:29 to 132 gives you a multitude of sins. And then
effeminacy, homosexuality.
Exactly.
I know them. I read the Bible.
And then what does God say?
God said, what do you mean? God is God's plan he has vengeance in his hand. It is not for a Christian to lay hand and kill anybody. Jesus Christ was brought a woman caught in adultery before him. And he said, any amongst you that are not sinners, you cast the first stone. So we have a teaching directly from the Lord not to be enacting God's old laws on our people because us ourselves are fallible. And Romans chapter 1 does not direct Christians to kill the effeminate or the liars or anybody. I mean, it does not direct that. It says God will have justice on them. God's justice will be on them. And he will bring justice to them. For every good deed will go rewarded and every bad deed will go punished. So, I don't know what you're trying to quote. Nowhere in the New Testament does it say...
I'm going to read it to you. I'm going to read it to you. Can I read the Bible to you? I know, and you'll enjoy me.
Which translation?
You'll enjoy me reading the Bible. I've got this from BibleGateway.com, so I'm not sure which
Is it on King James Version?
I don't know. You'll know better. It's from BibleGateway.com.
Probably on ESV, but yeah, you can read it.
Okay. So it mentions a multitude of sins, as I kept on mentioning to you, which you didn't want me to say. So it says in 26, it says, because of this, God gave them over to shameful lusts. Even their women exchange natural sexual relations for unnatural ones.
Yes,
in the
lesbians,
same way the men... bro, can you respect the Bible at least? I know you need to not jump out, right? It's like, have a bit of respect for... Look, I'm respecting the Bible. I want you to respect it. If you were reading the Bible, I'd stay quiet.
Oh, the mic drop moment. You got me.
Right, please. I know Jews don't respect the Bible. Bro, I know the Jews don't respect the Bible. Look, this is just...
You started ad-libbing,
this is blasphemy to the Bible. Well. This is just blasphemy to the Bible, bro. Please, come on, let me read it. Is that okay? Can I respect the Bible?
It can only be blasphemy to something holy.
You don't think the Bible's holy? You don't think the Bible's holy?
I didn't do it. Yes. But
you don't? This is the Jew. You keep revealing yourself. You keep revealing yourself. You don't even see the Bible as holy. Okay, let me read the Bible.
That's not what I said. I was saying you can only blaspheme something holy, meaning when I slapped the Quran with bacon, I was not blaspheming anything.
But you're blaspheming the Bible now. You're blaspheming the Bible now, so you don't even see that.
I'm not blaspheming the Bible.
Maybe if it was the Torah, I'd be snogging it as much as you snog the wall. Right, so 26.
Torah is the first 5 books of the Bible there, smarty
in the same way, the men also abandoned natural relations with women and were inflamed with lust for one another. Men committed shameful acts with other men and received in themselves the due penalty for this error. Furthermore, just as they did not think it worthwhile to retain the knowledge of God, so God gave them over to depraved minds, so that they do what ought not to be done. They have been filled with every kind of wickedness, evil, greed, depravity. They are full of envy, murder, strife, deceit, and malice. They are gossips, slanderers, God-haters, insolent, arrogant, and boastful. They invest ways of doing evil. They disobey their parents. They have no understanding, no fidelity, no love, no mercy. Although they know God's righteous decree that those who do such things deserve death.
Yes, but
They
it doesn't
not
say
only
to
continue
kill them.
doing these things, but also approve of those who practice them. They deserve death.
Yeah, what the Bible is saying there is the Old Testament had laid out that those sins, some of them, are death penalty sins. They deserve death. He doesn't say give them death, saying they know that they're sinning against God to such a grievous extent that these things are worthy of death. Not enact the death sentence yourself. That's not a New Testament
I mean, that's
teaching.
very liberal.
Anybody knows that.
That's a liberal walk.
Anybody knows.
That's a liberal walk, but that's fine.
So that's not. You're not a biblical scholar.
I'm not.
by
I'm
any
not.
means
I'm not. I got this
necessary.
from a biblical scholar. He actually told me because I said to him because I had a debate
No,
and
this is not.
I got it from a
Being
biblical.
deserving
Because I'm
of
not an
death
expert
just
on the
because-
Bible. I literally asked the biblical scholar. I said,
If
listen,
I
I know it's
say
in the
that
Old
something's
Testament.
deserving
I
of
know
death,
it's in the
does not
Old
say
Testament.
go
I
kill it.
actually asked the biblical scholar because I said I know it's in the Old Testament. The Jews do believe in murdering the homosexual. You've never mentioned that, but also is it in the New Testament? I know it's impermissible, but is it in the New Testament? Actually, the biblical scholar said to me, "Look, here it is."
But in Jewish
terms
countries,
of-
they don't murder homosexuals, and in Muslim countries, they do.
So the point is, no, but this is the actions of humans. I'm saying about
You're
religion.
talking
Your
about-
problem is
yes,
Islam.
that's what I'm
Your-
saying.
No,
In
but
real
your
life-
issue is the Islamification of America, and I'm saying
Yes.
Islam doesn't have that. So in the Quran, what is the punishment of a homosexual in the Quran?
I just need to look at any Islamic country. They're
What
killing. They're
is
throwing
the
them off the roof.
punishment
They
for a
kill them.
homosexual in the
They
Quran?
kill
Can you
them.
not answer the question?
I'm arguing real life. What do Muslims do? Muslims kill gays.
So in-
Muslims
so-
oppress women. That's what happens.
So listen.
You can say in the Quran, it does not say that. But guess what? In all the shithole countries you guys live in, that's what happens. So I don't care if it says it in the
So-
Quran, in Dr. Seuss,
What's the law?
whatever.
What's the
fucking
law?
book
What's
you
the
guys
law in
read.
Uganda?
You guys
What's the
follow
law
something
in
that
Uganda?
is
What is
incompatible with
the
white
law
Christian
in
America?
Okay, let me ask you a question then, because obviously you don't. So now you
I don't
concede.
care if it's in your
Okay,
book, if
okay,
it's in a
that's fine,
hadith,
that's
if
fine.
it's in a dream
fine,
of
that's
some
fine, that's
blind
fine.
homosexual rapist
That's fine.
that got in some cave 8,000 years ago. I don't care where it's written.
Well, I
just
know you're
looking at
into
your
homosexuality.
society.
That's why you're trying to defend it. I mean, I'm
No,
reading that
that's-
you.
I-
I don't know what happened in
apparently,
prison. I
Muhammad-
don't know what happened in prison.
didn't
That's why you love the
Muhammad sleep with a
homosexuals.
bunch of men
I mean, I don't know
in
what
one
happened in
night? I read
prison.
that
But
somewhere.
just let me
Is
let me
that
just.
not true in a hadith?
What?
He slept with a bunch of men.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did. In a hadith, it
No,
says
it's not.
so.
That's fake news. There's no hadith that says that.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not here to argue.
Yeah, but the point is,
pedantics
So,
and
but I'm not going
charlatans.
to answer. So let me ask you about politics because you talked about Middle Eastern countries. So the first thing is you've conceded that when it comes to the Quran, it's actually not as harsh as the Bible or the Old Testament when it comes to the punishment of homosexuals.
I know the
But now my
followers
question
of the
to you is
Quran.
Uganda.
I've read
What
the Quran, but
religion?
It's so
What
freaking
religion?
boring.
Yeah, it confused you. What religion is Ugandans?
Ugandans are almost 50% Christian and 50% Muslim.
They're
now. Well,
majority.
they're
They're
more.
majority Christian.
Yes, they're majority Christian. Yes.
Yeah, the majority.
Doesn't mean we should take 300 million of them and put them in New York.
I didn't say that. You need to not get confused. Try and listen to the argument. What is their view on homosexuality?
I would say that the Muslims are killing the Christians over there and killing the homosexuals
This
too.
guy is a
I
subvert.
never
He
heard.
can never
I
answer a
never heard
question.
personally.
Guys, he can
of
never
some type
answer a
of holy
question.
jihad
Such is
on
the
the
level.
Nigerian
Guys, if you're on
Christians
YouTube,
killing
we're moving
gays.
across. Sorry, if you're on YouTube,
Can you show me widespread reports of Nigerian Christians murdering gay people?
So listen, this is the problem with this guy, right?
It may have happened a
I'm
couple
gonna
times,
example.
but that's
this
not the
is
culture
Bro,
of Christianity.
Listen, I'm gonna explain it to you. So let me educate you because you clearly have no knowledge at all. So Uganda is a Christian country. Uganda actually has a penal system for homosexuality. There is an actual penalty of stoning for the homosexual based on Christian rules. Actually, I don't think it's stoning, but it's a death penalty for
I'm here
Christian,
to stand up for white
homosexual.
Christian people. Okay, I don't know what they're doing in the jungle in Uganda. Okay, I just don't.
Okay,
I
so
do.
now your position is this, because this is the problem with the fallacy of your argument. Let me explain to you what
I
the
have
fallacy-
never
you-
stuck
the
up
thing
for
is,
African
the
Christians.
thing is, you have
I
no
mean,
logical
God bless
consistency.
them.
You
I
have no
follow
logical
Jesus, but
consistency in your
they don't live
argument.
like we do.
Because let me explain to you the logical infallacy in your argument. Because your first claim was Islam isn't compatible. I explained to you how it's actually more lenient than the other three religions. You then deflected and said, oh no, forget Western civilization. Forget the practicing that Muslims do in Western civilization. I want to now talk about practicing that's happening in third world countries, as you call it, or shitholes, as you call it. You then went to the Middle East.
Where your people are from, the shitholes.
Yeah, and your people are from as well. And so then the third world, yeah, you're a
We're
Jew.
conquerors of the entire known
you ain't
world.
the conqueror
white
of
people.
nothing. I mean, yeah, you've conquered the United States of America, of course. But I mean, you've conquered the white people.
Well,
But-
hey, we can make the argument that both sides of my bloodlines are the ultimate conquerors of the world. So, I mean,
Right.
Be
I
that
mean,
as
yeah,
it may.
you conquered the white.
Be that as it may.
You control the United
Be
States of
that
America.
as it
So
may.
so then you deflected and talked about third world countries. I then give you an example of a third world country. And you're like, no,
All
let's not
Islamic
talk about third world
countries are
country. So
countries. That's
it
your,
just shows a
see,
lack
that's
of
your own-
consistency of your
you got
argument.
Louis
You have
there.
no cogent positions. Like you don't even know what you're saying. Like
No.
you have no consistent
Oh,
positions.
You see, this is the funny part. When I say Islamic countries,
Mm.
you have been goy slop fed into your own self-hatred of your own race and your own people, that you're assuming that they're all third world shitholes, which they are. But every
I didn't assume it. I just
I'm not
I
giving you a
repeated what you
specific.
said. I said as you
All of
said.
them.
I said
All
as
of them
you said.
practice the same barbacy. They're
Uh,
all barbaric.
Is
They're
the
all
is the
oppressive of
UAE
many different
one
types
second?
of
Is the
people.
UAE
It's antithetical to constitutional republic rule
okay?
of law.
Is the UAE, Qatar, Saudi Arabia barbaric societies, or do you think they're civilized societies?
I think that they are totalitarian societies.
Agreed.
First and foremost.
I agree.
Secondly, they are also on their knees begging for American and European money, and so they are trying
What?
to.
They're begging for
replicate
European
themselves.
money, bro. Do you even know politics? They just gave Donald Trump $5 trillion.
Of
Are you
course, they're
retarded, bro?
trying to appear to be westernized
Bro,
in every way,
you
shape,
just said
and
they're
form.
begging for
But
money.
guess what
That's
they
your
don't
country,
do?
bro. Is
They
this guy
don't form
retarded?
countries
Bro,
like
it's
us. They
your
don't
listen.
form-
This is just you do know my education audience is educated.
They are.
They know
are.
that your country of
They
Israel,
are oil rich.
your
from
country
us.
of Israel actually asked for money from the United States of America, begged for
are
money from the United
oil
States of
rich
America.
from us.
The
That's what I'm saying.
GCC, and I disagree with the GCC. I'm banned from that, but they give you the United States of America money. How you saying they beg for money? That makes no sense. You know, people.
They're begging
My
for our
audience is smarter than
business.
you.
Hello.
My
They're begging
audience
for
is
our
smarter than you,
business.
bro. This is embarrassing.
They want to be in business with us so that they can continue to feign like they're going to build westernized civilizations in their totalitarian.
But you agree they're not begging for money
areas.
because that was your claim. Your claim was they were begging for money.
For our business, they want to be in business with big bad white America.
That I agree with. That I agree with. That I agree with. But you said they were begging for money. That's where you lied.
It's the same thing. They're begging for business. They want to be in business.
No, they don't want
with
to.
us,
They're not begging for business.
The oil tax
They worship, as you said. I agree with you. They worship the United States of America.
They worship us over here. So
I
they
agree. Not
live
us, but the
in a
United States of America.
totalitarian regime. They live in a totalitarian regime.
I agree.
Nothing to do with America.
But the
and how we
society,
run our country,
but
our
the
freedom.
country itself is there's no crime. It's actually in all metrics, whether it's economy, whether it's cost of living, whether it's the type of living that you have, it's not a third world country. And the reason I'm mentioning that is this: that in reality, what happens in a lot of these countries is you're right. They all love the United States of America. Lebanon, all these countries, I've been to all of them. They love the United States of America. They do worship. I agree with you. They worship the United States of America. I didn't disagree with you on that. The problem is that because Israel controls the United States of America. True. Because Israel controls the United States of America, but not you, but yeah. Because Israel controls the United States of America, they basically have destroyed the countries in the Middle East. So the only reason these countries are, as you would describe them, shitholes, is because of Israel and this invasion by Israel and the United States of America for Israel. So I agree with you that they need to improve, and this is why I support your people and in terms of them stopping the occupation of the United States of America, because I think the US can prosper and the world can prosper, and you can have less migration, and you can have 80 or 75% as you want Western society or white people in the United States of America if you didn't have this issue. And this is why, you know, when you're saying people like Stu Peters, Jake Shields, Myron Gaines, and myself, although I'm not American, why people are fixated about the Zionist control of the US and the UK. This is the reason why, because they actually want what you want. The thing is that the reason they don't trust you is because you're not going for those in power, because they control things. You can attack a Muslim. It's not going to change the fact that the US
I didn't go for those in power. How dare you? I went directly, physically to those who are in power with the most vigor.
With a baseball bat.
With the most vigor humanly possible. I'm a freedom fighter for the people.
No, I'm talking about the Zionists. Jake, I'm talking about the. You have to understand one thing.
Like, I want to wrap this up to
let's
one question here. Tomorrow, poof, Zionist control is over. America, freedom. All the chains are falling off.
Yeah.
All the Jews go home to Israel, for example.
Well, Antarctica maybe.
They go home to Israel. We give them
Antarctica
Israel.
maybe.
Let them destroy.
Well, Israel wouldn't. If America's not there, Israel ceases to exist. Go ahead.
Okay, be that as it may. Do you think that every single third world scrapping, starving Pakistani and Indian and African and Muslim is going to stop clamoring to get in to our countries, rape our white women because they've been fetishized to absolutely adore white women? Do you think if Israel's not in the picture tomorrow, all of a sudden every Indian living in the slums of Mumbai is all of a sudden going to be like,
you know, India's not a Muslim country.
I never wanted.
Indians are Hindus. You know that, don't you?
Yes, of course. They're living in the slums of Mumbai, like I just said. Do you think that mass immigration from the Middle East, Africa, India, Pakistan, and any other brown eyes country is going to stop and all of a sudden it's kumbaya? Or do you think that these people, the Muslims, the Africans, the Pakis and Indians, are still like the hordes of orcs trying to take over Western civilization? Do you think it's only because Israel has a hand in the pot here, or two hands in the pot, or two hands and 2 feet, as you like to describe it? They're the biggest culprit. Don't you think that even if Israel wasn't even ever ceased to exist as of tomorrow and Jewish people were a non-factor, don't you think the brownification of Europe and America still would be on hyperdrive because it just is a natural way? It's the king of the hill thing. When you're in middle school, you get on top of a big hill and all your friends want to come and pull you down off the hill simply for the reason that you're on top of the hill. It's still the king of the hill scenario.
I think it's a very good question. I think you've asked a very good question, Jake.
That's how I want to wrap it up.
Yeah, and I think you've asked a very good question. So this, and the US and the UK is very different. You know that, don't you? Because in the UK, for example, after World War II, Britain was completely destroyed. So my grandparents fought in the war with their alliance, and then they came to the UK in the early 60s, and we've been here for third or fourth generation. And the reason they bought cheap Pakistani labor at that time was because, you know, we used to have coal mines here, we had the steel mills, we had very difficult labor, and so that's the reason they were brought up here. But again, the migration was very minor. So if you look at the percentage of white people in the United States of UK, it was in the 90s for a very long time. The vast majority of mass migration into the UK has been over the last 25 years. Same with the US. And it's been due to the actual wars that have happened throughout the world. And so, yeah, I do believe, for example, Somalia was in the clean break memo. The Israelis wanted Somalia to be bombed as well, hence why you've got Somalis in Minneapolis. And the Middle East, Dearborn, Michigan, you've got Middle Easterners in Dearborn, Michigan. So I do say, 100%. If Israel ceases to exist, if the Jewish Zionists stopped controlling the United States, the migration would stop. The people and it needs to stop anyway, bro, because it's just like what's happening now is a total collapse of Western society. It would stop. And also maybe the birth rate of the white populace would increase because you wouldn't have this propaganda in the media. Like, it's impossible not to see the propaganda. It's there every single day from
every commercials, interracial.
Every single commercial. And so 100%, if all of that was finished, you have a small chance of the white race being saved. If the Jewish Zionists stay in power, even if you attack every single Muslim city there is, whichever one you want, white people will cease to exist. And that's the biggest problem. This is why people say that, look, Jake, if you really care about white people, you need to go for the people who...
I'm going to APAC. I announced my march on APAC January 4th, 2026.
I get that.
I'm here for the fight.
It's not just APAC, but you know this, don't you, Jake? It's not just APAC.
I know, but APAC is like the head of the... As far as Americans are concerned, that's the one thing that the social media, that's the place... That's the motherboard, the head of the snake.
People are aware of it. People are aware of it. Yeah.
Yes, people are aware. Zionist control of America is super deep. And I mean, we're talking about.
But if you look at even your actions, Jews as a population are bigger than Muslims. You're going to hit 3 Muslim places, right? You've hit Dearborn, Michigan. I believe you're going to Texas.
So I'm going to Texas December 13th. Then January 4th, we're doing Washington, D.C. APAC headquarters. Then January 17th, we're going to Minneapolis.
I might come to Minneapolis.
Please do.
Yeah. To give another perspective.
And be standing on our side.
Yeah, I'll give a different perspective.
Not with the muzzies.
No, I'll come and I'll give a different perspective.
Okay.
I'll give a balanced perspective.
I'd like to see you there. But
so the point being, but can you see now, you went to 3...
So I disagree with what you're saying, though. I still think...
You went to 3 Muslim places for 1 Jewish place.
Even without the wars, caused by the global Zionistic banking, Rothschildian, Jewish system there. Without the wars and without the goy slop propaganda, I still believe, and this is just purely hypothetical, that
but we've got the evidence. We've seen what happened in the last 100 years.
But we're different. That the hordes of
No, we've seen what's happened in the last 80 years in terms of migration.
Societies and maintain a great, free, loving society like the Americans and like the Europeans would still find ways to be rushing. Maybe not in the same numbers, but I still believe that India, Pakistan, and the Middle East, and Africa would still be trying to flood our countries just because it's the natural way of the world. They want what we have. We used to be a little tougher, and we used to put heads on pikes when a foreign invading group came to our borders and tried to rape our women, steal our resources, invade our countries, and take over politically. But
that's happened, right? Taking over the United States of America.
It's hard to go to war with them. It's easier,
Why? Why is it hard, Jake? Why is it hard?
They're hiding. They're hiding in every place.
You guys do hide. You're good at hiding, yeah.
Yeah, there are. So you got to weed them out. You got to weed out everybody. You got to.
That's what we're doing here.
That's why I'm here. We're weeding them out. I'm ready to call them out. I'm ready to get MTG'd at any given
moment. But the last question. Why is it you're only going to 1 Jewish place but 3 Muslim places? When you conceded that they're in power.
Listen, APAC is where we're going. First of all, you have to build up momentum and a following. Right now, the boogeyman that you can see and you can feel and you can touch is the Islamification of America. And it rightfully so is the boogeyman because it's scary. So you get a lot of people unified on saying we're white, this is our country, we love our country, we love our heritage, we also love other people, we just don't want them around us because we have that right of self-determination. You get everybody on board, and then you can start making moves to go to other cultures, areas, places, and start to push back on other groups of people, Jewish Zionists, controlling class included. And you start to create an America first, America only, white Christian movement that can attack all these different fronts of this battlefield that is very vast. But right now, obviously, the fervor against Islam is so rightly placed because of the violence we saw in Dearborn, the inability to assimilate, and the violence we've seen in Washington, D.C. against the National Guard. God rest that young
So
lady's
one last
soul.
question before you leave, Jake. Are we going to see you kiss the church as hard as you kiss that wall? Are we going to get a picture? Are we going to get a picture?
I mean, I'm not into performance art. I'm a
I
man.
mean, that performance on the wall was so hard, bro.
I was 20 years old. And I was
that was a joke. That was a joke. Look, I appreciate you coming on.
No, but my faith, me kissing the wall or me kissing the church wall, like you're saying, what we call that in Christianity is you can tell a tree by its fruits. And I fought for my country on January 6th. I've done all the fundraising, all of the podcasting, all the marches, all of the loving this country in every way, all the truth telling against the Zionists, against the Muslims, against the CCP, against all enemies to our way of life. And so you could tell this tree right here by its fruit. So if you want to see me kiss the church, just see me live my life out every day.
Well, okay, one last question about litigation, because look, at the end of the day, one of the things that Ashkenazi Jewish people are known for is their love for litigation. It's not something that's found exactly. What's this thing where you're always
litigation is an American thing.
No,
though.
but listen,
it's supposed to be the absolute way to be able to battle out the truth from fiction.
What is
in litigation, going out and saying in a courtroom, we're supposed to have this legal procedure, which has been totally upended, by the way, with being able to charge people for crimes that have no victim in our country. It's been upended. There's like naval.
I'm just laughing because there's a Jewish guy trying to prove to us how our litigation is a good thing. But go continue.
No. I'm saying right now it's been completely usurped. The way the criminal justice happens in America, you can have the state charge you. Like me, I didn't have the actual people that claim to be victims of assault to me charge me. I had a entity known as the United States of America in all capital letters charge me in all capital letters, and it took it outside of actual common law court, which is one man making a claim against another, both on equal status, and they battle it out with a jury of their peers to determine who's in the right and who's in the wrong. That way of law and governance is completely gone. The Zio Jewish New World Order way of dealing with criminal matters is here, and unfortunately I got stuck in it in a federal district of Washington, D.C., which is like a foreign land, foreign occupation, doesn't go by common law, doesn't have anything to do with natural rights and humanity. I'm going off on a tangent. I'm sure your audience loving this, but you're not tracking me. You're like, oh man, this is some Jewish talk here.
No, I'm just bored. It's like a Jewish guy trying to prove to me why
no, but it's supposed to be.
Look, bring it back to the point.
Like, you've got
political right-wing commentators, people who have made a significant difference in terms of a wide range of issues, in terms of supporting Trump for some of them. For some of them, it was standing against COVID. Some of them, it was against.
I don't think any of them supported Trump, honestly.
Myron Gaines did, and he gets crapped on all the time on my spaces about that. Also, some of them basically spoke out against COVID. Some of them spoke out against the Russia. I think all of them spoke out against COVID. All of them spoke out against the Russia-Ukraine war. So largely speaking, they're on the right. Minor disagreements, and yet your response was to like try and do litigation against it. It just doesn't look right.
So I mean, first of all, the Bible tells us a man's most prized possession is his name. And those who try to destroy a man's good name are trying to destroy him. And in order to prove, I said, first of all, I don't want to destroy any of those people because we do share way more than 80%. They're 80% my friends, as Ronald Reagan said. We share many hills that I'm fighting for and willing to die on for my country. So I said, first of all, I deserve the right to go on their platforms, which you have graciously allowed me to explain my positions on all these different questions, because that's the right thing to do, instead of slandering somebody or making assumptions, especially for a public figure who's in such a position that I am, leading the first white Christian street movement in America that we've had like ever in a long time, maybe in the last 20, 30 years. And people just want to tear down that movement instead of, and the leader of it, instead of.
You're not the leader of it, bro. Come on, you just turned up.
I didn't just turn up. I've done my time in my country.
I mean, sorry, let me rephrase that because that's minimizing what thinking. You were in Jan 6, but then because you were incarcerated, many people had to take the mantle or had the mantle already, but continued to work on many issues. You came back into the political scene, specifically went after Dearborn, Michigan. People have be fighting against.
I did Austin Metcalf. I made global news headlines, just as big as Dearborn when I stood up against black on white crime. I started talking about before Irina Zaruski.
No, but
I
look,
took
about the litigation though. Listen, the problem is, let me explain to you.
Yes, no, but
Look,
see,
we've had this
anyway,
conversation
that
on this.
litigation,
No, but listen, listen.
if I have an apology or the opportunity to explain my position on these platforms, I said I don't care to
No,
go
but
to
listen,
litigation.
it looks like, I'll tell you what it looks like. It looks like you're trying to blackmail them to get on their platform, because I'll explain to you what it is. We've had this
At the end of the
conversation.
day, you guys slandered me on your platform.
No, but there's no
saying
slander,
lies
because
about me.
we've had this conversation.
No.
No, listen, we've
You're
had this.
saying I have,
No, but
I
let me
have
explain to you.
disingenuous faith in
No,
Christ.
but listen.
And you're saying that, not you,
No.
but they said I'm a paid Israeli spy.
Listen,
Come on.
no, but listen, the thing is this. I've already explained it to you. We've had this conversation, and I actually walked you through why someone would believe that either you were paid or unpaid, but you were, and intentionally or unintentionally, were enacting the actions of the Israeli government. And I laid out the thesis, and people listened to it. And I think
Can a
people
white man say, get out of here, get the fuck out of my country to Muslims without it being an Israeli spy? I mean,
because
come
that's
on.
what they literally did a
keyboard
study. They
warriors do
literally
we
did a,
have?
no, because Jake, they literally did a study 6 weeks before you did that and said this is the best way to deal with it.
I don't care if it was 6 days, 6 minutes. At the end of the day, white American men are tired of our homeland
Okay, but
being
you're Jewish.
taken
This is
from
the
us.
thing. This is why they come to that
We
position.
are tired of it, and people like me are standing up. We're pushing back. We're standing up.
I don't think you are.
It doesn't
I
matter.
don't think you are, because you're not doing
Even if it
anything.
has
No, but Jake,
tied
you're not doing
interest to-
anything unique. This is the thing. For 25 years,
Show me another person that's ever marched through Dearborn, Michigan, slapping the Quran with bacon and peacefully protesting. Show me anybody that's out there on the streets
no, but listen,
doing the work.
you're not
and putting
doing
it in.
anything unique.
Doing-
No, but listen, for 25 years, people have been attacking Islam because Jewish Zionist billionaires pay for this to happen, right? They do fund people. This is why people think that you may have been, but I don't know if you were or not. But I'm saying people, they do fund people. Like, for example, the guy you met, Tommy Robinson in the United Kingdom, because you went to the United Kingdom, right? Tommy Robinson was paid by a Jewish Zionist billionaire, Robert Shulman, to attack Islam. So Laura Loomer, who, she was also paid by Robert Shulman. So the thing is, there are people who are paid for what you're doing, and it's been happening for 25 years. And so therefore, when you're saying you're doing something unique, no, but when you're saying you're doing something, no, but Jake, when you're saying you're doing something unique, you're not. You're just doing the same propaganda without realizing it for Zionists.
I burnt the Talmud, over 1 million views on my X page. People that are being paid to stir up strife, to kind of like hide the Jewish control thing, and they're just trying to get people distracted over here, are not doing the things I'm doing. There's nobody else that's doing what I'm doing, and also burning Talmuds, doing marches on AIPAC, talking about
But you did
Jewish
the AIPAC.
Zionist control.
No, but Jake, the AIPAC thing you
what
did
are you
after.
talking about here?
No, but the AIPAC thing you did after these tweets were going out, right?
I only did one march so far. I've only done other press conferences. A press conference about Austin Metcalf. A press conference about Emily Carlson, another white girl that was murdered on the train by a deranged black guy in America. Racist, nasty, ghetto black man that decided to kill a beautiful young mother, 21-year-old Emily Carlson. I went out there and held a press conference and memorial vigil for her. And so I'm out here doing what needs to be done for the right reasons, because my heart's in it, because God is propelling me to do these things. He released me from a prison cell for a reason, Jewish identity, forsaken.
What would you say to people? One last point. What would you say to people that you're literally only doing this for fame? Like, and I'll explain to you the reason why people are saying this. Like, if you look at your history, you go, for example, you went to the Capitol, you did whatever you did. You went to CPAC, you were thrown out. You went to somewhere else. You keep on going to places, trying to create news and get thrown out. And this is just
first
an
of all,
example.
CPAC was, I bought a booth at CPAC for the second year. First year I was in prison. I sent my surrogates there to people that were volunteering my organization. We bought $10,000 booth the first year at CPAC. When I got out, I didn't have as much. We got like a $2,500 booth. I was there with the Gateway Pundit and with myself, Blessed News Network, to just cover the event. I bought a bunch of t-shirts that said full pardon but Trump. We were selling t-shirts and making content. Before the event even started, I went to CPAC's booth headquarters and I said, hey, I'm here to pick up my 20 passes, because I bought 20 passes with my booth. Actually more, 10 came with the booth and I bought like another 20. So I had like 30 passes, 20 of them I paid for though, separately. And I went to go pick them up for all the J6ers. And when I went to pick them up, they said, everyone else on your list can come in, but your security credentials have been revoked. So this was before any drama. It was like a private, me with some lady checking in at a booth. And when she said my security credentials have been revoked, I said, give me 1 second. I had my live stream already ready to go, live on Gateway Pundit, live on my platform. I hit go live, and I'm like, so you're telling me right now that my credentials have been revoked as I bought a booth and I'm a Gen 6er. 28 days ago, I walked out of prison. I made a whole big stink about it, but I should have. I mean, we should be being welcomed in the conservative circles, not being thrown out. And later that day, Joe Biggs, Enrique Tarrio, Stuart Rhodes, and Richard Barnett all got kicked out because they didn't get kicked out while they were inside. They never had credentials. Their security pass or whatever they weren't allowed in just the same as me, high profile J6er. So I never went there to cause a disturbance.
Let me just go with a couple of questions because actually a lot of people are hyped up and they got questions for you. Is that all right? 1 or 2 questions before you leave?
Yeah, it's okay. I'm supposed to be on another interview with an Iranian Jewish man that turned against Israel and going on there to stand with a Jew.
I know.
He's a good guy. He was on Jake Shields the other day.
Yeah, I debated him. I know who it is, Nima. He's turned on your people. He's turned on the Ashkenazis.
I don't care. Turn on him as long as you don't turn on white Americans.
So listen, this is a question. I think it might be someone. It's a J6er anyway, but he's saying that while you were in prison, that you basically almost created your own religious cult, which was like you rechanged the Bible.
Completely false. I have. This is probably little Timmy who fell in the well and is crying.
Oh, you think it's Tim?
Messaging. Yeah, he's Tim. That's probably Timmy.
So he was your cellmate.
He was my cellmate for like 5 days, literally in the very beginning when we first got locked up. But no, I taught the Bible from the Word of God every single day to dozens of men, and I have literally hundreds and hundreds of men, both Jan 6ers and random inmates that will, attest to my just being a straight up born again believer and teaching not any denomination, not anything other than what the written word of God, the risen blood of Jesus Christ, through the death of the Lamb of God, we are saved from our sins, not by works, by grace alone.
I appreciate it. I just want to speed this up. So another guy's asking, it's an easy yes or no. He says, Sully, ask him if he's related to French Jewish former culture minister Jacques Lang.
I don't know who that is. I don't think so. Okay. I don't know who that is. So my last name is German, Lang. And my dad is Irish and German, and my mother is Russian. So I don't even know who Jack.
And then there's claims here that you paid the Gateway pundit to promote you. Is that true?
Never. I never paid the Gateway pundit, or they never paid me.
And to be clear, he didn't pay me. He didn't pay me to come on this because I saw someone saying that.
I just threatened to sue you to come on.
No, I didn't bring you on because of that. When we had the conversation. When we had the conversation on the actually, funny enough, like one of my friends did say to me, "Did you say to him that he's not going to sue you after this?" I said, "Nah, I didn't say that."
No, I never promised anybody I'm not going to sue anybody. But listen, as long as I have the platform to clear my name of allegations of being a freaking spy or a bad actor that's paid to do what I'm doing or disingenuous in my faith, that's all that matters to me because I'm looking at the end goal here. I don't care about your money. I don't want your money. I don't want to bankrupt anybody. I even said in my post I wouldn't even accept the money from any judgment. Because that's not my MO here. My MO is to clear my name, not to destroy people that are fighting for the same value systems that I am. That's okay. But you're not going to take me down in the process. I'll fight for my name.
Okay. Then someone said, well, it's the same guy again. He said Jake got kicked out of the DC Bible study by Shane Jenkins. Who's Shane Jenkins?
Shane is one of my J6 brothers, but I was tossed into the hole, not kicked out of Bible study. I disappeared. I was leading Bible study before Shane. He's a great man, great American patriot. I was leading Bible study before Shane because I was there. Literally arrested 10 days after J6. I got thrown in the hole for 3 months for asking to do these Bible studies because we weren't allowed out of our cells a lot. I was saying we need specific religious time to come out of our cells. I got thrown in the hole for 3 months. By the time I came back to the unit, there'd been a whole, like literally 30 new J6ers came and Shane started doing the Bible studies.
Would you be willing to have a public conversation with this Tim guy? Because he's just spamming some, it seems like it's, I don't know if it's
such a spam artist. God bless him.
Would you have it? We can do it on the platform. We can set it up.
We've already done too much to platform somebody who should be able to fight for his own name's sake, right? It's like, here's a perfect example.
Yeah.
In sometime in the 80s or whatever, when Miller Lite first launched its beer, they went after, I think, Bud Light in like in a campaign, in an advertisement campaign. And Miller Lite was like a nobody or something on the map. But when Bud Light responded to their attack, it gave Miller Lite such a platform because Bud Light was this big,
Yeah. That's why you threatened to. That's why you threatened to sue everyone, isn't it? Because you wanted that. No, you wanted the same thing.
You guys, none of you guys have even close to the platform I do. By God's grace alone, we're at in the last 7 days, we're at billions of views, billions with a B. Okay, so you're like 30 likes and you're 20,000 views.
Actually, let's be clear on this. During the war with Iran, when you were snogging the wall.
I know. Your has been. I'm today, you're yesterday.
No, it's not has been. It's just that your Jewish Zionist brothers deboosted us. Algorithm. Your cousin Larry Ellison said we got to, your cousin Jonathan Greenblatt and your other cousin Larry Ellison, they basically made the algorithm change. So what can we do?
Well, I don't want them. Kick them out. Ban them. Take away, denaturalize. Boom. If I was here, denaturalize Larry. All those guys, denaturalize them. Send them back to wherever they came from.
Okay, look, Jake, thanks for coming. I think we had a very long conversation. I think people enjoyed it. Try and reflect on some of the conversations. Maybe listen back and strengthen your arguments a little bit. But I appreciate you coming on. I think it was fun.
Strengthen your arguments. You're over here pushing garbage in the name of Allah, okay?
I destroyed your arguments. You had nothing left, bro. It was
not even once. I guarantee you.
Listen back to it. Listen back to it.
The Jew haters, all the America first, white men.
America first. Like, this guy's not America first.
W's. White men in the chat. He's like, W's
guys,
right now.
let's see the chat. Is this guy a Jew or a Jew or Christian? Jew or Christian? Let the audience decide. What do you think? Has he convinced you? Is he a Jew or a Christian? Let's see.
Jesus Christ is Lord and God and Savior of all heaven and earth.
They take it too long
Always
to
say about
think
the
it-
Holy
I
Spirit.
think there's a delay. Anyway, guys, look, I appreciate you coming on, Jake. We had a good banter as well. I think we had a bit of back and forth, but I think it was good and interesting. I
You
appreciate
can't
coming on.
declare victory when I mocked you, all right? I'm
Bro,
sorry.
it was too easy for me.
Might
It
have
was
to
actually
become
too
a
easy for
janitor
me.
after this. You're
It
pretty
was
good
actually too
at
easy
being
for me.
wiped all over
But
the
what you
floor.
can say is I tried to debate Sulaiman. I struggled, but I think I did better than others.
I think that all of your arguments are
Oh,
based
everyone's
on.
saying come on, someone say Christian. Someone say Christian, please.
Of course,
nobody
you've
say
got
it.
all these Muslims from India who watch you, brother. Come on.
Right, bro. I appreciate you coming on, and we'll check you
God
another
bless
time.
you.
Thanks a lot. Then.
See ya. God bless
Bye-bye.
you.